We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Brigham.
Here.
Councilmember Nguyen.
Here.
Councilmember Tran.
Here.
Councilmember Muñetón.
Here.
Councilmember Aristegui.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dovin.
Present.
And Mayor Klopfenstein.
Here. We will now go into our invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Our Assistant City Manager, Matt West, will lead us in our invocation. And if I could have Councilwoman Yesenia Munton lead us in the pledge, please.
Please prepare yourself according to your faith. Lord, as we begin, may we enter tonight's discussions with open hearts and minds, ready to listen with intention and engage with thoughtfulness and care. May wisdom and compassion guide our decisions. And Lord, let us be grounded in mutual respect for one another, for the diverse voices of our community, and for the shared responsibility we carry in shaping the city's future. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Please turn, place the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We have a request at this time to pull item number 8 from items for consideration. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I have a motion, a second. Called.
Mayor, before we do the vote on this, if we can introduce the presentation.
Oh,
I'm going to
of
go
course.
ahead and turn it over to
Fair enough.
Assistant City Manager Ursula Luna Reynosa.
Understood.
To introduce the item. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. At our last meeting, we went over the 5-year strategy for homelessness, and tonight, Timothy Throne is going to give a very brief presentation on an action plan. So this is for this next fiscal year 25-26, the action items that we will begin to implement this 5-year strategy. And with that, Timothy, if you can give a brief overview.
Ursula, and good evening, Mayor and City Council. It's my pleasure to present the Homelessness Strategies Fiscal Year 2025-26 Action Plan, which will cover the first year of the 2025-2030 Homelessness Strategy. So just briefly, I've already presented on this slide, so I'll just go quickly. So back on June 24th, 2025, City Council adopted the 2025 through 2030 Garden Grove Homelessness Strategy. Their strategic plan provides a comprehensive regional and measurable approach to reduce homelessness. The strategy is organized around 4 goals, including enhanced communication and community engagement, enhance the service delivery system to improve the response to homelessness, leverage partnerships, funding, and resources to maximize utilization to the benefit of clients, and improve quality of life for Garden Grove residents, businesses, and stakeholders. Each goal includes actionable objectives and measurable key performance indicators. And the action plan before you outlines action items that will be performed this year in collaboration with internal city departments, service providers, Tri-Cities partners, and regional agencies. Now moving into the first goal, we have enhanced communication and community engagement, and the action items related to this goal are to update the city's homelessness webpage and develop a public-facing data dashboard by Q2. Develop and distribute a partner satisfaction survey by June 30th, 2026. Share at least 4 success stories publicly to increase community awareness. And then to continue quarterly Tri-Cities coordination meetings. Moving on to goal 2, which is to enhance service delivery system to improve response to homelessness. Our action items include maintain ongoing contract management and service provider oversight, hold monthly service provider meetings across the Tri-Cities, launch a client satisfaction survey in partnership with VOALA, host quarterly OC Workforce Solutions mobile unit visits at the CCNC, and host monthly Vituity health clinics at the CCNC. Moving on to goal 3, which is to leverage partnerships, funding, and resources. The action items are to finalize a protocol for tracking client referrals by January 1st, 2026, identify and leverage workforce development and employment resources within the county, submit grant funding applications and identify new funding opportunities, and to conduct a gap analysis and coordinate with local agencies to leverage resources for CC&C clients. And then lastly, we have goal 4, which is to improve quality of life for Garden Grove stakeholders. And we plan to issue an RFP for a community survey polling company and execute the contract by Q4. We plan to develop a heat map to track public safety calls related to homelessness by June 30th, 2026. And then we plan to continue implementing encampment prevention through environmental design, including cleanups and deterrent installations. Altogether, these action items ensure cross-sector collaboration, increase community engagement, and data-informed program oversight. And progress will be tracked quarterly to and inform the development of next year's action plan. That concludes my portion of the presentation. I'll kick it back to Ursula.
Thank you, Timothy. As you can see, there's a robust work plan for the year. We looked at the resources available and really tried to ensure that we were looking at not only financial resources that were allocated through the budget process, but also staff time so that we can deliver on these items. And I want to do a deep dive into just one of those action items just to give you a little bit of a flavor of the work effort that goes into that. And so with that, I'm going to have Monica Corvarubias walk through the goal related to communication and updating the website. And because homelessness sits in the Neighborhood Services Division of the department, you'll see a little bit of cross-collaboration of updating not just the homelessness page, but some of the other items within Neighborhood Services, and it'll give you a good flavor of the various resources that are offered to the community of Garden Grove. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you. Good evening. So we would like to take this opportunity to highlight how anyone can access information regarding all of the homeless services and social service programs we offer and contact information for all of our service providers. If you were to go to our city's website at ggcity.org, you will get to this landing page. At the top right-hand corner, you can search for economic development and housing. That will take you here. You would then click on the Economic Development and Housing link, which will take you to the Economic Development and Housing webpage, where you can access information for our entire department. If you click on Neighborhood Improvement, you will be directed to the page that provides access to information on all homeless services and programs that are designed to improve the lives of our constituents and our neighborhoods. On the right-hand side, you see a column with all of the different grants and programs that we offer. If you were to click on Emergency Solutions Grants, it would take you to our Homeless Resources page. On this page, we list the various phone numbers you may dial to access homeless services and shelter. We also have icons of all of our partner service providers. If you click on any of them, it will direct you straight to their webpage. For example, if you click on Interval House, you will be directed to Interval House webpage. Interval House provides emergency shelter and protective services to victims and families of domestic violence. They also provide tenant-based rental assistance, security deposits, and supportive services to individuals and families. In the last fiscal year, they were able to assist 64 individuals. If we go back to our Homeless Resources page on the right-hand column, if you were to click on the Community Development Block Grant, you will be taken to the page that provides information of all of the programs and services funded through this grant. As you can see, we have partnerships with various service providers. For example, Meals on Wheels. The city has had a partnership with Meals on Wheels for over 20 years. The program is designed to provide nutritious, home-delivered, and congregate meals to frail and homebound seniors. In the last fiscal year, they have assisted an unduplicated number of 120 seniors. If we go back to the previous slide, we also see an icon for Fair Housing Foundation. The city is committed to affirmatively furthering fair housing. Through our partnership with the Fair Housing Foundation, we provide information, referrals, dispute resolution, and advocacy for landlords, tenants, and the public regarding fair housing and other housing rights. In the last year, the Fair Housing Foundation held 4 workshops for members of our community and 13 community presentations specific to housing organizations and landlord education. Again, if we go on the right-hand side of this column, if you go to Workforce Activation and Readiness Program, you'll be directed to their landing page. This is an employment development program that provides residents with the tools and skills needed to secure and maintain gainful employment. Some of the services include our resume building, interview skills, job search, assistance, and dressing for success. In partnership with GGUSD, our service provider, Stand Up for Kids, has an outreach liaison at Rancho Alamitos High School to provide these services to transitional age youth. This program is also being expanded in this new fiscal year to provide rental assistance to transitional age youth experiencing homelessness in our city. As you can see from our website, we provide access to a lot of information on the many services and programs we offer and information with direct links to our service providers. It is our goal to continue to make improvements to our webpage and make it easier for everyone to access this information. And I will now pass it back to Ursula.
Monica. You can see there's a number of programs. The city has had these in place, a number of them, for many years. We're looking to add new ones through the strategy. But if we went through, we just gave you a little bit of a flavoring of some of those programs, but you can see to actually update this website to go through every single one of those. We want to do more storytelling and make sure that we put some of the successes of folks who have actually been helped through these programs with their permission, sharing some of those stories. And so part of our update to the website is going to be doing some of that, which will be quite a bit of work, but we're excited to share those stories with all of you in the community. So we wanted just to let you understand that's just one task under this action plan, and just to give you a little bit of a deeper dive into the work effort that goes into one task, but we're really excited to move forward with implementation of our homelessness strategy. With that, a big accomplishment and something that we will continue to focus on related to homelessness is the Central Cities Navigation Center. So we are commemorating the 1-year anniversary of that. It's hard to believe. Many of you were there for the ribbon cutting of that, and it's been a big accomplishment. So we want to show a little video that was produced in commemorating this event.
In Garden Grove, near Westminster, on a nondescript street, is the intersection of help and hope. Behind the grayish walls of this building, there is a collaborative effort between the County of Orange and the cities of Garden Grove, Westminster, and Fountain Valley to deal with the issue of people who are unhoused and seeking help. The Central Cities Navigation Center is celebrating its 1-year anniversary. The center, which is helping people transition from homelessness to hopefulness, is in the business of changing lives. Through the staff of CCNC, people who have been referred by various agencies in the 3 cities are given an opportunity to have some normalcy in their lives. The center can serve up to 100 people, including women, men, as well as couples, with beds, showering facilities, food, and other important services.
We're more of a transitional program, so we try to get people on their feet. So we have a lot of different clients from a lot of different walks of life, but our main goal is to find a way for them to sustain themselves in society, to get back into housing, to sustain a job, GR, disability, whatever it is that they're going to need.
For Army veteran Sean Anderson and his dog Hera, CCNC has been a lifeline. Sean has struggled with being unhoused for many years, his hands and face bearing the visible and invisible scars of life on the streets.
I've been on the streets by the social definitions of homelessness. I've been homeless since I was 16. So.
How old are you now?
56.
The center and its Volunteers of America staff have given Sean help in navigating the waters of governmental services, as well as housing assistance and job leads. But the biggest helping hand may have come by giving hope.
And now it's just crazy, you know. So just, you know, when I was ready to just like whatever accept my fate, they pulled a rabbit out of their hat big time, dude. Yeah, I'm so grateful to these guys, man, you know. So grateful.
It's a nice day out.
Yeah, no, it's great.
For Ashton and Jeff, they are one of the shining examples of CCNC's hard work and assistance, paired with their own determination. Once unhoused with few opportunities, this young couple now has jobs, an apartment, and so much more.
And because at the time we were in such a low and had nowhere to go, and we didn't know what we were gonna do. And it was just amazing to have support and to have somewhere to turn to and just to be excited about the future for once. Yeah.
Better than Christmas. It was unreal. Like I thought it was a joke at first when it all came together, but it was truly awesome. The feeling, you know, at the end of the tunnel. It was a lot of work, but definitely without their support, I don't know if we could have done it.
CCNC's success stories like Ashton and Jeff's are on the rise, and with just a year under its belt, the center's impact in helping the issues of being unhoused continues to be felt in the partnering cities of Garden Grove, Fountain Valley, and Westminster.
I'm just really happy and honored and proud that our city of Westminster was part of this collaboration to try to ease the pain of some of these folks who are out in the streets and have nowhere to go.
So it's important that the CCNC, that we have that partnership with them. It helps us address them from being on the street, not having a place to be safe, not a place to be cared for, and to be fed, and also safety as well.
To have people come through the Navigation Center, find the wraparound support and services they need, get back out into the community, perhaps with a job, perhaps in support of housing, to live life again, that's when we know we have success, and it's all really about hope.
And that hope had many helping hands along the way, especially from the County of Orange. Through their active role, the county has provided invaluable assistance and funding for more than 10 years. Without the help of partners like the County of Orange, the success and reach of the program could not have been possible.
So you all should be very proud of your work related to homelessness as demonstrated through our strategy and the opening of this shelter. But it's not just these pretty pictures and the nice stories. There's a lot of hard work that goes on. We have a great operator, and at this time I'd like to introduce Eric Richardson, who's the Executive Director of VOA LA, to give a brief presentation and talk a little bit more about the great work that they're doing at our CCNC.
Thank you. Danny's also going to come up with me. So Danny's the Program Manager at CCNC. He's a guy that's in there every day. I'm one of those guys that floats about on the top. Danny's the guy that's in there doing the work, so Danny needs to be here talking about some of this. Firstly, I just want to thank everybody here because we've had to move our part forward because we need to go back to the CCNC to do some work there. So thank you so much for being able to do that. Firstly, I just want to say again, massive thank you, not just to everybody here, but I know they're not here, but we've done that ourselves to Westminster and Fountain Valley teams as well, because from our point of view, we've run a lot of shelters. We do run a lot of shelters, and again, this has been one of the smoothest. And it's nice to have been here a year ago. Lots of times I come in after a year and I go, wow, that was a hard year. I'm sure I've got older over that period of time. It hasn't happened here. It's been a really smooth process, and it's worked really well, and that's thanks to all the partnerships that we have. I'm quickly going to go through some data to give you some ideas of the numbers of clients. So we've enrolled in CCNC 342 clients. 222 of those have been Garden Grove residents. We've housed 24 overall, 15 of those have been residents of Garden Grove. We have 4 from Garden Grove return to family, which is one of our key areas. If we can get people to re-engage with their family and move back to family, that's a key point for us, because it's more than just a home when they re-engage with family. There's a lot more relationship building there.
We've had clients that have exited to sober living. We've had 3 of those from Garden Grove. And from employment, we've had 54 overall, 26 again from Garden Grove, which has been good because not only does employment mean that they've got a future and somewhere to go, it also means when we're looking for housing, it's a lot easier to find that housing because there's extra income involved. There's obviously areas that individuals might leave the CCNC, but one of the key areas I just wanted to highlight here was clients that go AWOL. So we have some clients that over 72 hours, if a bed is empty, we will pack up the client's belongings. We keep them for the client should they come back, and we exit them because we don't want to keep any beds empty. But I want to stress here that lots of those clients that we exit, we have back in. It's not that they exit and they can't come back. They come back into the centre. Sometimes they come the first time and go, it didn't work for me. But it's surprising how many clients come back and go, actually, yeah, I do want to come back in. It was a good place to be. Next slide, Danny. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the work that the staff do in the centre. A lot of the work we do is about that acclimation for clients to come into the CCNC to understand what we do and how we do it. But a big piece of work we do is collecting documentation and ID. We have to do that way before we look at employment, way before we look at housing. It's collecting that information because lots of the clients are on the street, they don't have that information. So that is a big piece of work that case managers are doing, and that can take quite a long piece of time. We engage with the case manager support, so they have a case manager individually, and referrals to external support agencies for everything such as mental health, substance misuse, so we can engage other parts of the communities, have links with other services. Every client has a housing support plan with client goals that are the client's goals, not ours. The client's goals are where they want to be, because some are smaller steps, some are bigger steps. It depends where they are in their life cycle. We link with the housing navigation team as soon as that ID is done so we can get them housed. We look to increase the income, and obviously we want employment and training involved as well. So to give you some detail on present clients as of today, we have 48 out of the 50 clients from Garden Grove, 160 male, 56 female, 6 couples. 11 of those clients are working with housing navigators to be linked to housing. So all clients are working towards housing. These are 11 that have made those steps. They've got their documentation and they're really pushing forward to get into housing. 3 are currently employed and 22 now have income in place that didn't have when they came into the centre. We always try and get every client to have income, whatever that income might be. As soon as they come into the centre, we work with that. We have quite a few clients that we've managed to get on SSI and other elements as well. 5 clients are currently looking for work and have been connected with employees, and as it says, 3 have been interviewed for the OC Fair, and we'll start when that opens up. Next slide, I just want to look at, and I'm going to get Danny to talk a little about this, and I know that Tim mentioned this in his presentation, and it's the Vituity Clinic, and it's an example of some of the events that we put on at the CCNC.
So the Vituity Clinic is a clinic that we host monthly for the site. So especially with all our clients there at the site, we want to provide them with different services that they can receive. So including from haircuts to meeting with a doctor to meeting with a mental health doctor, connecting some of our clients to the first time since some of them haven't seen a doctor. So we want to make sure that we connect them to their services. For us, our goal is always just making sure that we empower our clients that are at the site.
And I think one of the things to say about the Vituity Clinic is it's amazing the impact that other organisations have had that have come. And the great thing is they want to come back. Sometimes you'll get organisations that meet our clients and they don't engage and they go, oh, no. But all those individuals all want to come back to deliver haircutting, just to support. And we've had other organisations that also want to be involved now as well, which is a really positive move forward for the people that we've got working with us. Lastly, we just want to talk a little bit about one of the success stories from CCNC. It's the couple you saw on the video, but I'm just going to get Danny to give a little bit more information on that success story.
Yeah. So when the couple came to the site, they came in and they were referred over to the Be Well team. They were struggling with different challenges in life. So we were able to connect them first to get medical services and get them connected to their services. Once we were able to connect them to their services, they were able to get connected to more income, SSI. So we were able to help them with that. Then we were able to connect them with employment, housing, and for me, that's the best thing that we can do for these clients, make sure that we get them, again, it's always getting them back on their feet and, creating these stories that's what it's about in having these shelters. It's getting people back on their feet because we never know when we can fall in a situation like that.
I think some elements as well that we've got on here is that obviously they pursued that specialised training in culinary classes and also assisted in getting their guard cards for other employment. So it's just a good example of some of the work we do with clients because it's where they want to be and where they want to move forward. Overall, again, I just want to say thanks to everybody that's been involved with the CCNC. I'm very proud of the Navigation Centre and the work that Danny's done, but also overall, it's been incredibly supportive from both the PD and the other organisations and referring. It's a really good partnership, and I just want to thank everybody here for that, because we couldn't do what we do without that kind of partnership. There we go. And I'm just going to hand over to Tim, I believe, who's going to do the next. Sorry,
that's okay.
Was I interrupting for you?
No, I wanted to thank you, Eric and Danny, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that under Danny's leadership, how smoothly the operations have run. Of course, there are always going to be challenges. These types of facilities always have them, but this has been way smoother than other facilities that I'm familiar with, and really Danny's been a large part of that, so thank you both for being here. I did want to mention that the action we're requesting tonight from the council is to adopt the action plan, the one-year action plan, but prior to that, we're available for any questions, and then I think also you'll see if there's any public comments on this item in particular. Thank you.
I believe I need to start with that. Are there any public comments on the current item, homeless strategy action plan? Does anybody have any comments on that? All right, seeing none. Colleagues, any questions, comments? Sure.
Yeah. First of all, I want to make the motion. I do think our plan is working. I'm really proud of our reduction in homeless. I don't know if the community is aware, but we're probably the #1 city for homeless reduction in the state. 39% reduction, which is unheard of. And we're doing it not just being brutes, not just, we're doing it in a compassionate and fair way to the homeless folks. We're, the Navigation Center doing a great job, but we're offering, mental health outreach, job training, job placement, drug addiction treatment, pretty much every service involving homelessness that you can think of, we offer it in this small little city of Garden Grove. And we do it, we're not rich, we're a struggling city, but we do it, and it's making a heck of a difference. 39% reduction. Now, that means we still have 61% to go. So we have a lot to do still, a lot to look forward to doing, but we want to keep that continued, and we want to continue to reduce those numbers in a compassionate way, treating people with respect and dignity, and trying to get them into that permanent supportive housing model, which is really tough because there's only so many places that we can do. But anyway, my only quasi heartburn with the strategy is at goal #1, and sharing the 4 success stories. That's great. I love that. But I think we also need to show some of our failures. The community is willing to hear it. They want to know what we're doing, see our efforts, and we did this, we tried. But I think it helps the transparency, because the community realizes, hey, we are out there, we are trying to do stuff. It doesn't always work. And so I think we should balance that. I don't want to amend anything on the motion or anything, but I do think staff should consider maybe also sharing some of the failures, because I think it opens the eyes, and it also educates the council on ideas of ways we can fix those failures, and maybe get some input from the community when they see those failures, and they might have a good idea that they can share with us that we could bring. So I think not just the successes, but maybe also some failures would be a good idea. And with that, I'll make the motion.
Councilwoman?
I would like to second that, but before we do that, I would like to say a couple words. So first, that's great. Thank you to Council Member George Brigham saying the story, the 39%. So I went to different meetings for Southern California SCAC, talking to other city and seeing some other city that got the award for doing the homeless plan. And you just have to say that I was so proud of our city with all the things that we have done. I have gone to the Navigation Center a couple of times and actually talked to the people there. And every single person I talk to, they all appreciate what we have. This is just amazing, successful story that not just within our staff, but also combined with the other city that nearby, that we, the one that taking the lead. Just by coincidence, over the weekend, I attend a fundraising for veterans. And there was a gentleman that he actually doesn't live here, but he a veteran, and he has a friend that a veteran, and he said the same thing about our Garden Grove City, and about the thing that we have tried to support the homeless, the community. And so going through this, I keep hearing, we help the people to be on their feet. That is super important. And then going to help them not just going to get a new place to stay, but also be employed, right? And reconnect to family. That's amazing. That's what we want to see in our city. And so thank you to you guys, and thank to our staff. I know that like council member already said that there are other things that maybe we could learn to do better, but every single step, every single thing that I have seen, and I went to talk to people in many different environments, at the navigation center, and in the corner of Chapman and brokers right there, just the people that you talk to, everybody embrace and happy with what we have. The people that I talked, they said, well, finally I have a place to lay down. And they were just happy just that. They said they never own a home, they never get to do that. But this is like after so many days on the street, and now and then not just have the bed to lay on, they also have a warm meal right there, cooking right there in the brand new building. So thank you so much. Yeah, I could do the second one.
Madam Mayor, I forgot to add one thing.
Hold on. Let me get over here, and then we'll circle back around.
Reclaiming my time, Councilmember. Just kidding, George. First and foremost, I would like to thank the folks from Volunteers, of course, for helping us with managing the Central Cities Navigation Center, because you guys really knock it out of the park. I remember when you took me on the tour, and I was just so impressed by the facility, and not just that it's a clean facility and it's running with all the gears going, but the fact that you have a staff that's so well trained, that is empathetic, and that treats everyone there with dignity and humanity, I think is one of the most important things. You don't call them homeless people. They're your clients, right? And that really shows me that you have a service-minded outlook, and you really want to help the people there. So I really appreciate the mentality that you guys have and how you guys approach the work that you do, because it is so invaluable. I really cannot press enough what an amazing accomplishment it is that we have a 39% reduction in homelessness here in the city of Garden Grove. These are numbers that other cities around the state would drool over. They wish that they were able to see the success. And even then, we are still not done. Like George mentioned, we still have 61% more to go, right? There's still a lot of gaps in what we can do, but this is also a very complicated and multifaceted issue. And we do our best within our means as a municipality to tackle this issue to the best of our ability. I want to commend Timothy and your team, Monica, for all the work that you guys have put in on this, because I see some of the things that we've brought up in the past being solidified here within the goals. And it's important to note that you have the dollar figures next to the cost, right? And the least expensive things are the most important things for us to do. And that is to communicate and to work together. When we were talking about our 5-year strategic plan, I specifically pointed out that I want to make sure that we're continuing to communicate regularly with the other partners in the Tri-Cities partnership, and potentially even see where else we could expand upon that, because it is so important that we make sure that we maintain open lines of communication with our partners in Westminster and Fountain Valley, because even having gotten this project off of the ground was such a magnificent feat. And I'll give the flowers to the members of this body to my predecessor, Kim Wynn Peñalosa, who really spearheaded this, and to Senator Tom Umberg, who got us a nice chunk of change from the state so that we could continue funding this project. But even then, we have a lot more to do with the rest of our partners. And I know that you guys are the best people out there to be able to get us those partnerships and leverage those relationships so that we can continue providing this service to the community and also setting example for the other cities in Orange County. Thank you.
Yes, I also have a comment about after last time with the tour that you all direct me around to see the facility and all. But the thing that I really like is about the paid internship program, that we provide hand-on experience for the participant who can receive compensation, and they can learn about healthcare, IT, education, and so on. Allow them to gain the practical skill, build their resume to explore for career opportunity, and also enable to them to get back to a normal life. And so thank you so much.
Questions. First and foremost, thank you guys so much for being here today and giving us that information, very valid, and the stories and the video were so meaningful. So one of my questions is, does the Navigation Center also provide social workers for these individuals, or also mental health support? Like, what kind of supports or organizations do we work with? And then lastly, once they're on, they have their home and their job, do they continue to get that support, or like check in with them as well, just to see kind of if they're still doing well? I think it would be beneficial if they continue to have like check-ins with you all, just to make sure that they have all that they need in order to sustain their living.
So I suppose the first element, if I had to go for the first question, so from a case manager's point of view, the case manager's role isn't a social worker, just to be completely honest, and I'm sure everybody's aware of that. The case manager role is to engage and create the housing support plan that we have. When it says housing support plan, that covers every remit you could think of, from education to mental health to substance misuse. And then we work with the linkages and with other organisations in the community to ensure that those organisations can support the clients. So we have direct links to those. I'm sure, Danny, you've got probably a list of the main ones.
Yeah, we have a lot of different supporters. So Be Well helps us connect to mental health, and there's a bunch of providers that we connect to.
So those get referred straight on from the case manager, so we refer those through. And our clients being clients, they don't always attend all those appointments, so it's not just here's an appointment you go to, you missed it, well, you've lost. It's about the case manager consistently trying to work with that client, and if they miss that appointment, talking to that provider to say, can we go back, can we try again, can we support them, can we take them? We have transport, so we take clients to lots of those appointments as well to make sure they attend. So that's the first part. The second part, if you want to talk a bit about that, Danny. Just the second part of the question.
About the
ongoing contact.
The ongoing support, yes. So we have two elements of that, really. One is there's a contract we now have through working with the city, which is delivering what we class as rapid rehousing, so rental subsidy, called the TBRA contract. That is going to be able to deliver some rental subsidy to clients whose income doesn't quite meet those needs in that supported accommodation. As part of that program, we're going to keep delivering support to those clients as we move through. So if they go into their own tenancy, we can carry on supporting them, we can carry on contact them. The benefit of that is we're going to use our housing navigators that the individuals already know. So it's not like they're going to get somebody new and they have to tell their story again. They're going to stay with them while they're in the accommodation. If they don't go that route, they might go through into more supported housing or permanent supported housing, which has its own support that's linked into that. But we always ensure that if they want to come back or they want to speak to any of our staff or the case managers or housing team, they can come back and talk to the team as well. But through our programme, we stay with them to just keep supporting them through that basis.
Thank you.
I think the idea is keep that thread, because the worst thing for clients is to keep repeating their story over and over and over again, because that's
Yeah.
what cannot work well. And just to add one more thing, I think it was a few comments. I think it was your comment on sometimes there aren't always successes. The CCNC might be the best place ever for some clients. It doesn't work for everybody. There's some clients that go through that and it doesn't work. Some might not come back. Many do, which is fantastic for us. But we also work with that. So we have a meeting regularly monthly with the city where we talk through about those as well. Those ones that didn't work and what's that about. We really dissect into that, what is and why they might have gone to exit. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to add up on that, I just want to add that we have multiple surveys in the works that we're going to develop to poll our partners, the community as a whole, so that we can see where we might be failing or not meeting the goals of the community. So that's another aspect of the action plan that I wanted to highlight for you, Councilmember Bredegan.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I neglected to say, I'm really proud of this body here, everybody here, and even the previous members who worked so hard to get us to this point where we have, and staff, can't forget staff. You guys do the heavy lifting to get us to this point of having a 39%. And to put that in perspective, almost every city in California has had an increase. Maybe a small increase, 1 or 2%, but we really stood out. And as a result, I was contacted by PBS Nightly News. They're a national news program, and that episode actually aired tonight at 6 p.m. And they wanted to dive into how Garden Grove has had so much success and what are we doing differently than everyone else. And I think that's been encapsulated here today. But if you want to watch that program, yeah, it's you can catch it on the website pbs.org/newshour. And anyway, I just wanted to, if anyone wanted to see, we did get a little national notoriety for our efforts here, and largely due to our wonderful staff and our navigation center, which has really helped to that end. So,
Thank you, Councilman, for being
If I
on there
may,
and holding it down for us. Yes.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, I would also like to just highlight all the services, including our special resource team with our Garden Grove Police Department. They are, a dynamic team that is out in the field every single day, engaging with our unhoused population and giving them those touch points that if and when those individuals are ready to receive services, we have those resources available. So definitely an acknowledgement to our police chief, Chief Alfara, and our special resource team.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It takes a serious amount of synergy and collaboration to do this work, and I think we're doing that quite well. Thank you, Ursula, Tim, Monica. Thank you for your incredible work and just the brain trust, the incredible amount of knowledge that you all have, the passion you have that's driving all of this incredible work and focus. Thank you so much. This is such a thorough plan. We appreciate it greatly. So we have a motion and a second. We'll call for the vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Thank you. All right. All right, with that, we are headed into oral communication. I have quite a few pink cards this evening and a lot of new faces in the audience, so welcome everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. Item number 11 here is on the list. Maureen Blackman, what do you got for us this evening?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. I'm here tonight, Maureen Blackman, Garden Grove resident. This is a story about relationship building, a story about two people who have two different jobs that are many a time opposite of each other. I advocate for our residents, and staff advocates for our city and the things that they need to do. So here it goes. One beautiful Saturday, March morning, I woke up to the sound of crashing lumber. I went outside and my neighbor was out in front figuring out what the racket was. 2 houses down, a home on our street was being eaten alive by an excavator. We had no notice or indication that a home was going to be taken down and hauled away. All day, the sounds of crashing lumber and bricks permeated our neighborhood. 15 double dump trucks full of soil were hauled in and out to excavate for a foundation for a new 6,300 square foot home with 2 ADUs in the back. This was the 8th new build on our street in 1 year. I was in communication with Nikki Wetzel during this time. She empathized, but since there are state mandates, the city had to comply. We met over to coffee, and I talked about not being able to plan for our own events, not knowing what kind of construction noise would be next. She seemed to understand. I didn't know it at the time, but Nikki was working on modifying the construction times in our city, especially in residential neighborhoods. It's item 11, although it's not perfect, but what is? It will give residents guidelines so they can plan events without fear of construction noise. At the time, I was planning a funeral, and I'm glad it wasn't that day. I never disregard the power of relationship building. It works. Thank you, and thank you, Planning Commissioner and friend John Ramirez, for taking up this cause. Please vote yes.
Thank you. Tom Rayburn.
Hi, I'm Tom Rayburn. All 7 of you elected vote off of words and numbers. But what if the words and numbers are not accurate? Next meeting, you're going to be voting, if it's still on the schedule, for a place at 12821 Knott Street. They want to go ahead and add 10,368 square feet more and also change the FAR. But we have to go backwards to February 11th of 2020 when the 7 elected voted on Ordinance 2912. The numbers on that are 7.97 acres. The building is 119,836 square feet. The new mezzanine is 45,335 square feet and a portion of Brady Way. So the question is that true? So originally, the public hearing was supposed to be June 5th, but that's gone. Then it was supposed to be June 19th, and now July 17th. But why is it changing? Well, it changed to July 17th because I found 2 other PUDs in Garden Grove that they neglected. So, the true numbers, because I called up the Orange County assessors, the true numbers for 12821 Knott Street for parcel 215-014-01 is 6.8799 acres or 303,514 square feet. What they labeled portion of Brady Way is actually parcel number 13501-36, and that is only 40,920 square feet, which means the total is 7.91 acres. There's a shortage. Right now, as that property is right now, they're already over the FAR. They've already added 7,909 square feet mezzanine. They already did that. And they didn't have to get permission because that was part of the ordinance. So, you guys have my paperwork. You guys will see the permit for the mezzanine. You will see they already have a permit for the new mezzanine already, April 19th of 2025. And I guess I didn't have enough time, but you guys need to go ahead and verify these numbers and words. Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize if I don't pronounce this correctly. Gina Meninga? Meneha? Sorry, I couldn't.
Hi, so this is my first city council meeting. And first I'd like to just thank you all for working on the homeless issue. You guys are doing an amazing job. It's a 42% reduction. 39. That's amazing. And I also want to thank you so much for just all the new community spaces that are showing up, like Rodeo 39. We've got Cottage Industries and Steelcraft. My family loves them. So I just want to tell you that that's awesome. And the parks. So you guys have like a 20-year plan, I think, to update all the parks. And I so appreciate that because I have a 2-year-old, I have a dog, my husband, we love these spaces. But actually the reason why I was brought here is not to just thank you, but we have a major issue that ICE is in our community. And I'm here to stand up for the people that can't. And I don't really know exactly what you guys can do, but I just feel terrible for these families because I have a family. And I'm in a situation where, my life is not threatened. But if there's anything you guys can do that could make it so that these ICE agents aren't masked, that they would wear a uniform. When people are taken, we can find out where they've gone, maybe what their names are. If there's anything you can do, that would also be appreciated. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Clara. It doesn't have a last name. Clara?
Okay. Council members and fellow Garden Grove residents, it pains me deeply to see the fear and uncertainty that now plagues our community. As someone who has lived in Garden Grove for most of my childhood throughout adult life, I've always cherished our city's diverse and welcoming spirit. But today, my friends, my family, my loved ones, and our entire community are living in fear. Recent ICE raids are devastating our community, separating families, leaving them terrified, and our neighborhoods filled with dread. This is not the Garden Grove I grew up in, nor the one we aspire to be. The silence surrounding ICE activities is unacceptable. We need transparency and immediate action. Collaborate with residents, not ICE, and create clear channel of communication about ICE presence in our community. Cities like Santa Barbara and Glendale have shown that it's possible to stand up for the safety and the rights of all residents. Let's follow their lead by implementing policies that offer legal support, strengthen community resources. We need more than empty promises. We need concrete measures to protect all of our residents, regardless of status. Garden Grove needs to become a true sanctuary for everybody that lives here. We must stand together, united in our commitment for justice for all. Remember, council members, silence is complicity, and the time for action is now. Let's ensure that Garden Grove remains a place where everyone can live without fear.
Thank you. If I can, since there's so many speakers, I think I'm going to queue you up if possible. So first up will be Julie Nguyen, and then Patricia Zavala, and then Melissa Gonzalez-Contreras. So if those are waiting in the wings could kind of come and stand along the side, I think it'd be helpful. Thank you. Julie Nguyen is up first.
Hello, my name is Julie Nguyen, and this is my first public comment. I've lived in Garden Grove since 2013, and I'm here today to express intense concerns about the increased rate of ICE activities happening in Garden Grove. As each day passes, we are seeing more and more instances of families being cruelly kidnapped from the streets. Our elderlies are being violently tackled to the ground. People are forced out of their cars and homes. Civilians who are recording are now being threatened with facial recognition apps, and this all happens within the blink of an eye. They say that they are targeting criminals, but ICE has committed more crimes than the street vendors, workers, fathers that they've hunted in the early mornings. Volunteers such as the Orange County Rapid Response Network work incredibly hard to make sure that we at least know who is being detained so we can relay that information to their families. But as a group of volunteers, we don't have enough resources to make sure every detainment is documented. We understand that we cannot stop these ICE agents from doing what they're doing, but we, the people, are trying our best to protect innocent families, and all we demand from the City Council is to ensure for the transparency, accountability, and identification from law enforcement. If they are truly law enforcement, they should have no problem identifying who they are. We are already seeing cases of people posing as these officers because it is so easy to, and taking advantage of innocent civilians on the street. This gave people a new method to take advantage of the fears that our communities have been feeling for several months. Women are being raped, people are held for ransom, and children are getting kidnapped, all because of ICE's unwillingness to present proper identification. Your job as the City Council is to ensure the safety and well-being of residents in Garden Grove. It is not your job to act on your own selfishness. Thank you.
Patricia?
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members, the city of Garden Grove. My name is Patricia Zavala. I have lived in Garden Grove since 1999. I'm a mother, I'm a daughter of immigrants, and I'm a proud resident of District 2. For 26 years, I've walked these streets with pride and love, but lately I walk with something else, and it's fear. Last week, we saw unmarked vehicles circling our neighborhood. No badges, no markings, just silence. And I felt it in my body, that panic. Someone is going to disappear today. Someone is not going to go back home. That fear now lives in our homes. It lives in our people. They're all scared to go to school, to work, to drop off their kids, because we don't know who's watching or who's next. There has been reports of individuals believed to be federal agents operating in plain clothes and unmarked cars, refusing to identify themselves. We demand the city to take action, require clear identification for federal agents operating in Garden Grove, because when power hides, abuse grows. We need safety, we need support, we need hope. Families are living in the dark without any of their loved ones without knowing where their loved ones are. We need the city to create public resource hubs with legal support, know your rights information, and when possible, updates on local detentions. Aid drives can't carry this alone. We must act, the city must act, and we need transparency. We call on the city to disclose how our police department shares information with ICE. We deserve to know what's being done in our name. And I don't speak from an outside. I speak from someone rooted here. As a citizen, as a sister of 2 brothers in the U.S. Air Force, as a sister of an educator serving in our public schools. My family has given this country our service, our labor, our loyalty. And what I ask in return is simple: safety, dignity, and truth. We're watching the slow normalization of surveillance, propaganda, military presence in our streets. What happened at MacArthur Park is not normal. This is how freedom erodes. It doesn't happen at once, but little thousand small silences. So tonight, I'm just asking you to listen, and I'm asking you to remember your oath, not just as policymakers, but as protectors of our collective humanity. If my rights can be striped, so can yours, so can your neighbors, so can your children's. Do not wait for the collapse.
Melissa? Good evening. I speak today as a private citizen. I lived in the city during my formative years as a teenager and a young adult. Moved out of state and returned to California in 2023, and back to Garden Grove just about a month ago. But the city never ceased to be my home. As you are aware, our city has become the target of agents and impersonators that are threatening the peace on our streets, that are intimidating our fellow Garden Grove residents, and that have kidnapped members of our community. Regardless of where our council and the people attending this meeting stand politically, the recent ICE raids in our community are a threat to us all. The sense of surveillance and vulnerability and the constant fear are eroding the peace and trust. Vulnerable sectors of our community are shattered. They are afraid of leaving their homes, afraid to go to work, to go to the supermarket, and as a result will endure lasting economic, social, and psychological damage. Imagine the effect of a conversation between a parent and their kids about the possibility of not coming home after work. this impacts everyone. Let me remind everyone here that these people are a vital part of our community. On the one hand, they work in vital industries in our city, pay taxes, and spend their money just like everyone else. This money funds our schools, our parks, our libraries. They fund this council as well. But on the other hand, which should be more compelling, they are human beings deserving of peace, dignity, and due process. I mentioned that this climate is eroding trust. It is affecting how we see each other. But it is also shedding light on what our elected officials are doing to guarantee that members of Garden Grove live in peace. This morning, I read a letter that 2 council members and the mayor sent to Representative Derek Tran. Thank you for advocating for transparency. But I am not alone in feeling that the city of Garden Grove has been very silent in addressing this crisis. And remember, like someone already said, silence is complicity. I ask you to verify the identity of ICE agents operating in our city, to create support systems for our vulnerable community members, and a list of people ICE has detained in our city, and that the city acts with transparency regarding the city and the police department's cooperation with ICE. We are seeing wonderful efforts laid by organizations and community members. I hope that the city of Garden Grove follows in their footsteps. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next 3 will be Rachel Key, followed by Karina Giron, and Courtney Cook. Again, I apologize if I'm messing up those names.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Key, and I'm a lifelong resident of Garden Grove's District 1. I have deep roots here and a wide network of loved ones, all of whom are deeply scared and saddened by immigration and customs enforcement's activities in our community. I'm here today to speak to the current elected officials of my city about what we need from you. I would like to first thank those of you who signed that letter of concern to Representative Derek Tran. That acknowledgement of the clear danger to our communities was much appreciated. I would also like to express deep confusion and disappointment that there were only a few signatures on that document, despite this crisis affecting people in all districts and communities of this city. My foremost immediate concern is public safety. We are told broadly that the people taking residents off our streets are federal agents, but at every scene, these armed, dangerous individuals are categorically refusing to disclose their agencies of affiliation, let alone their names and badge numbers. How can a federal agent be held to less accountability than an average service worker or a city council member? And how are we to know if the abduction we're witnessing is federally sanctioned, or, in the case of a Huntington Park resident recently, if it is a kidnapping perpetrated by a random person with a history of human smuggling? It is imperative that this council pass a resolution to verify federal agents' identities when operating in our city, as Huntington Park has done. None of us, regardless of location or demographic, can possibly walk around our own city without fear when we have no way of knowing who is taking people off the streets and why. You must demand that all federal agents follow proper legal identification protocols under federal regulation, and you must ensure that these identities can be verified through proper channels. Secondly, over the past few weeks, multiple schools across Garden Grove Unified have come together in kindness and solidarity to collect food and other essential supplies for their impacted families in need. This was an extraordinary act of community, but the responsibility for community aid should not fall solely on the shoulders of our already overworked teachers, much less on our school children. The cities of Santa Ana and Anaheim have established their own community aid hubs for those impacted by ICE activities. This is what a city infrastructure's responsibility looks like. I urge the Garden Grove City Council to take responsibility for its communities and follow the examples of our neighbors before the next school year starts. Let's not disrupt children's lives any more than they already have been. Lastly, due to a Public Information Act request, we now know that ICE has made courtesy calls to the Garden Grove Police Department throughout this entire year to notify them of coming actions. We, the people, however, have had zero transparency about this collaboration and advance notice. This is a grave betrayal of the communities our police were appointed to protect, as these raids continue to harm our vibrant, diverse city. As a citizen of Garden Grove, I demand complete proactive transparency of our police department's involvement with ICE. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate the passion with which you're coming to speak tonight, but I would ask that you refrain from calling out, clapping, snapping during these people's moments to speak. If you want to clap at the end of their 3 minutes, I respect that, but let's please keep the tact and decorum in the room this evening. Karina Giron.
Hi, good afternoon or evening. This is my first city meeting. So my name is Karina. I have lived in Garden Grove my entire life. I actually graduated high school across the street. So I am a millennial and a resident from this community. Like I said, I'm a millennial, so I have lived through 9/11, through the Iraq War, through multiple school shootings, through COVID, and never once have I ever been afraid until now. Having these ICE raids in our city, in our community, is very distraught. The only true question I have is what happened in MacArthur Park yesterday. I want to know what the city is going to do to prevent that from happening here. I don't want to see military cars and soldiers walking down the street in my community when we're not at war. This is not acceptable, and I would like to know what the city is planning to do and what legal authority or options does the city have to respond and to regulate and stop it, and also what the city would like to do to ensure transparency and public safety for us. Thank you.
Courtney.
Hi, I'm Courtney Cook. I'm a resident of District 5 and a member of the OC Rapid Response Network. 2 weeks ago, I shared my comments with the council demanding action against ICE in our city. Since then, a few things have happened. Huntington Park passed a resolution to support their city. Multiple Garden Grove car washes were raided with dozens of people detained. A U.S. citizen was surrounded by ICE in full riot gear in the Garden Grove Walmart parking lot. Santa Ana did not pass a resolution on transparency of courtesy calls for two major reasons. One is they specifically received a threat from the U.S. District Attorney as a sanctuary city, neither of which apply to Garden Grove. And the ordinance as written was illegal, but could be adjusted with the help from the city attorney. We also did our research and found 32 courtesy calls in Garden Grove from ICE to Garden Grove PD since before June 17th, which I give you guys a copy of to take a look at by district. And I can send you guys a copy too, if that helps. I read the letter to Derek Tran sent on July 3rd, and I want to add a proactive report released by the city showing daily ICE arrest numbers for Garden Grove districts and GDPD courtesy calls received. Ideally, a list of names and alien numbers can be provided to an organization like Orange County Rapid Response Network so they can follow these residents through detention and protect their rights. Learning from our neighbors, we want the council to request that the city manager and city attorney spend the time until the next council meeting providing city recommendations for actions which condemn aggressive and non-transparent federal immigration enforcement tactics and directs proactive local response measures. Residents are now afraid to do laundry, go grocery shopping, or even seek medical care due to racial stereotyping. Earlier this week, one woman was arrested at Hoag ER. This afternoon, someone was arrested as soon as they exited the ambulance at South Coast Global Medical Center. And this morning, someone's father was experiencing stroke symptoms, and they called OC Rapid Response for a referral to a safe hospital. The mayor and city council must do as much as possible to investigate the paths of action that create a safe community. Between now and the next city council meeting a month away, there will probably be an increased demand for action. As you can see, it's already increased in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Ma'am, do you want these back? Okay. All right. Next three will be Araceli Guzman, Roger Flanders, and is it Yesa Flores? Yeka. Thank you. Okay.
Good evening, council members. My name is Araceli, and I am a resident of District 1. I've worked for the Garden Grove Unified School District, supporting families and students in this city. And I'm here tonight because I care deeply about this community. I speak not only for myself, but for those who don't feel safe enough to come to this mic, for those afraid to leave their homes to buy groceries, go to work, or even take a walk in their neighborhoods. ICE has been active in our city, separating the very families that make Garden Grove strong and diverse. They deserve to feel seen, supported, and safe. That's why I'm asking for the creation of a city resource hub so residents can access legal aid, emergency planning, resources, and know your rights education before a crisis happens, not just after. I'm also asking for full transparency when it comes to immigration enforcement activity. If the city knows where and when ICE is operating, the community deserves to be informed. Transparency is protection. When we protect the most vulnerable among us, we protect the heart of our city. So I urge you, do what's right, create an accessible resource hub, notify residents when ICE is present. Show our families that this city will not turn its back on them. Thank you.
Thank you. Roger? Roger? Yeka?
Yes. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Yeka, and I've been a resident here in the city of Garden Grove for the past 23 years. Not only am I a resident, but I'm also an educator in the Garden Grove Unified School District. I'm here today not just as an educator or neighbor, but as a human being deeply concerned about the safety and dignity of our community. We are witnessing something unacceptable and terrifying in our city. Armed individuals in unmarked vehicles refusing to identify themselves are abducting our neighbors without explanation or accountability. These actions are not just unethical, but they are dangerous. They build fear and break the very trust that should bind a community together. These ICE raids, often carried out without warrants or named targets, are tearing families apart. And no, these aren't just faceless statistics. These are the people who build, support, and serve our city every single day. I urge this council to take bold steps and consider implementing a citywide alert system via text, email, or mobile app to notify residents when confirmed ICE activity occurs in the area. Furthermore, I ask, what support systems are we building for the families left behind? When a parent is taken, children are left emotionally shattered and economically stranded. These raids are robbing families of their breadwinners, and it's our moral obligation to ensure they are not left to suffer in silence. We need city-funded programs, services focused on housing, food, legal aid, and trauma-informed support for children. Because this trauma runs deep, and studies show that experiences like these, being ripped from a parent or living in constant fear, have long-term devastating effects on children's development. We are talking about increased depression, difficulty with learning and memory, and emotional instability and broken trust in the world around them. We must do better, so I leave you with this. What kind of city do you want to be? One that turns away in silence, or one that stands up with the courage to protect its people, fight for justice, and ensure no one lives in fear for simply being who they are? Thank you.
Thank you. Roger Flanders?
Thank you. Sorry about that. Madam Mayor, Council, staff, I appreciate your time. I wasn't really planning on making public comments when I came this evening. I was more interested in hearing others, but some thoughts occurred to me while some of these folks were speaking and putting myself in your position. As previously mentioned, we know we're not a rich city, and though we do a terrific job of providing services with what revenue we take in, we rely heavily on federal money. That's a fact. Almost every service we provide, whether it's streets, whether it's housing, relies on federal money. We don't want that money to get cut off. Santa Ana's already been officially noted that they are going to have their federal funding cut off, and we don't want to be in that situation. We get our federal funding cut off, the homeless center goes away. Services to the elderly, services concerning childcare, after-school programs, gone. So if you want to make the federal government mad by putting up some sort of defense against them arresting illegal aliens, you make them mad, they're going to cut off federal funding, and then we're going to be in a world of hurt with everything that we do. So that all the other citizens get to suffer their Meals on Wheels, like I said, homeless, childcare, those services dry up, then where will those citizens be? The other thing that is a possibility is the fact of bringing more attention from the federal government. You want to challenge the federal government, you're going to get MacArthur Park style interdictions here in Garden Grove. You want to do things that violate federal law to advocate for the violation of the law and the obstruction of justice. We're gonna get more attention, and I don't think we need the lack of funds or the attention. I noticed there's a common theme of federal officers in the minds of some of these folks not identifying themselves, and I guess they would feel more comfortable if our police department in our full uniforms accompanied the federal agents, so then they would know that these federal agents are legitimate law enforcement officials. So maybe that can get worked out to where our uniformed officers with our marked patrol cars accompany ICE when they're out and about doing what they need to do. I do have a little bit of time left. I do understand the feelings of these folks. I have a close friend who, come to find out, has been in the country for over 20 years illegally. Why he didn't take advantage of Biden's amnesty, Reagan's amnesty, Clinton's amnesty, I don't know. But he didn't, and he's a successful business person with a daughter, a freshman year in college, and he could be scooped up any minute, and it would be horrible. So I understand the feelings. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's the next three speakers. I have Sam Harrison, Christian Lopez, and Jennifer Lopez. Yes. Excuse me. Excuse me. Please. I'm asking for order. Again, Sam Harrison, Christian Lopez, and Jennifer Lopez. If you'd like to continue speaking, please leave the chambers.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. I would like to change the subject a little bit. I'm a numbers guy, and I've noticed on the budgets that we have this little parentheses with 3 zeros at the top of the budget, and it kind of makes it looks like we have a household budget when we really have a real budget. And it kind of loses the impact of numbers. We've lost the impact of numbers by using credit cards. We have no idea how much money we're spending. We're going into debt, which we don't need. We're physically not responsible because we don't feel the impact of it. It would really help the community, in my opinion, if instead of listing 407,000 as our budget with 3 zeros at the top, we call it what it is. It's 407 million. And it's not a big ask. Just be transparent. That's all. Thanks.
Christian Lopez.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and staff. My name is Christian Lopez, and I'm a lifelong resident of District 5. I'm here to speak about the recent immigration raids that have been ongoing since the beginning of this year. So far, a couple council members have spoken up in support of the immigrant community, but more can be done by our city. The terror that these raids are causing in the community is unjust. Families are living in fear. Many are scared to leave their homes, causing food and financial insecurity. I'm here today with other concerned community members to call on the city to provide more resources to the immigrant community provide financial relief to affected community members, provide the public with more transparency of ICE operations in the city. And I call on the city of Garden Grove to not cooperate or assist in ICE operations. And I just want to make a final comment that undocumented immigrants are part of the Garden Grove community and always will be.
Jennifer?
Hello, my name is Jennifer Lopez, and I live in 92843, District 4, so I am under Joe's district. I'm here to talk about the recent immigration raids that have caused terror throughout the city. Actually, I have a great anecdote to share with everybody today. On Father's Day, Sunday, June 15th, there was a flower vendor in front of Trask and Magnolia, in front of the freaking In-N-Out over there, and he was taken when he was selling flowers on Father's Day at 1 p.m. Did he receive any follow-up care? Did anybody check on his family? Did any of you know that he was taken by a white van that was unmarked by men covered head to toe? Is there any care for these community members? How many community members have you followed and accompanied to their ICE check-ins? But you guys had time for the state of the city to spend $70K, Stephanie. $70K on the state of the city 2 days after that man was kidnapped. And you just put out a half-assed statement. Where is the care for your community members? Do you not care? A man on freaking Father's Day just selling flowers, trying to make a living, was snatched off the street trying to make ends meet. And there has been absolute silence from more than half of the freaking council members here. Do you walk anybody to their check-ins? Do you guys know how many community members have disappeared? Each one of you guys? Do you have any record, any follow-up care for these families that lose their breadwinners? What about the child of that parent who lost their father on Father's Day? I got there 30 minutes after he was taken, and I spoke with every employee in that surrounding area who told me that they snatched him off the street and he was sobbing as they snatched him and just left behind his flowers that he was vending on Father's Day, trying to make ends meet. And I can assure you, none of you guys knew about that none of you guys followed up with that man and even knew it happened right under your noses. And it is so disappointing that my tax dollars are going to pay for all of your salaries when you are not providing the level of care that our community deserves. And I have seen community members step up for each other more than I have seen any of you guys step up. Do you know about the Orange County Rapid Response Network and how many vendors they have bought out and paid the rent up because they're so scared that they might get snatched up next time that they're selling flowers? Do you realize how unfair that is? I hope that each and every one of you go tonight to bed and think about how many community members you've lost, how many kids are traumatized, that their father hasn't come home, that he's not being fed, that he's not being given medicine, that they're missing bills. Have you checked in with anybody? Yes or no?
Ma'am, your time is up.
I hope to find out soon.
Our next three speakers will be Jordan, followed by Jasmine and Edith Leonard. Jasmine Pineda, pardon me.
Hello, my name is Jordan and I live in District 4 under Mr. Devin. I'm very close to the Home Depot, and there have been multiple kidnappings of hardworking members of our community by mass individuals riding around in unmarked vehicles. As far as I've seen, you all are doing nothing to even so much as inform us whether any of these mass individuals are Gestapo sanctioned by the federal government or are just opportunistic human traffickers taking advantage of the chaos. That feebly worded letter sent to Derek Tran on July 3rd was too little, too late. We need more transparency from the council on who these mass people are and on the use of our city tax dollars to assist the federal government in disappearing members of our community. Thank you.
Jasmine Pineda.
Good evening, council members. Thank you so much for your time. First off, just like the first person who came up, I want to thank you for your work with the homeless population. It's making a big difference. And secondly, just like the majority of citizen speakers who've come up today, I am very concerned with the ICE raids that have been happening. As a teacher for Garden Grove District, I am so thankful that the graduations happened before the raids, and I did the summer school for the intermediate schools, and I just, through my colleagues, I understood that the high school attendance suffered because of the raids, so I just want there to be as many transparent measures taken so that our students are safe, their parents are safe, and that those resources that the federal government is implementing be used for drug traffickers, not for hardworking people. Yes, we want the drug traffickers. Yes, we want the human traffickers out of our communities, but not hardworking people. Thank you.
Thank you. Edith?
Yep. Hi, I'm Edith. I'm also here today as a resident of the city, and I'm calling for the council to take clear and unwavering stance to get ICE and DHS. They have no place in the city. Your job is not to protect the ego or the interest of the federal government. It's to protect your community. The president or their presence does not make us safer. It makes people afraid to go to school, to seek medical care, or to report actual crimes. It breaks up families, targets vulnerable communities, and erodes trust between residents and local institutions. Our city should not be complicit in these harmful actions, and you need to do your part to end any and all collaboration, formal or informal, between local law enforcement and federal immigration agencies. We demand safety for our neighbors and loved ones, not in name only, but in policy and practice. Our tax dollars and our public spaces should not be used to enable surveillance, detention, or deportation. This needs to be done as an action, not performative, not in resolutions, not in any symbolic language. We want legally binding sanctuary policies. No more detainment, no more raids, no more fear. You have the power to draw that line, so go ahead and do it.
All right, our next three, Chrisman Neville, Tony Flores, and Jessica Zamudio.
Hello. I, like a lot of my community members here, are I'm absolutely disgusted at the way that our law enforcement is helping what is essentially a poorly trained band of bounty hunters to come into our communities and to terrorize the people who make this community what it is. We're talking about Garden Grove, a place that has a very long history of, community with immigrants. And I don't understand how this is being allowed to happen, not just in a passive way, but that this is something that we are actively working to help these people to come in and cause terror within our communities. It's absolutely disgusting. And we've heard so many people say pretty much the exact same thing. I don't quite know if this is something that is getting to you guys at all, but at a certain point, you guys are going to be up for re-election. And we want to see that we have community leaders who are in fact leading for us and are listening to the problems that we're bringing to the council and doing something about it. Or else we will remember that you did not.
Tony Flores.
Take my glasses off. Good evening, council, staff. I'm Tony Flores, and I'd like to speak briefly on the notice of public hearings. Mr. Raber spoke on it briefly. My attention was grabbed on it from the west side of Garden Grove regarding Ordinance 2912, Site Plan 159-205. parcel number 215-14-01, 12821 Knott Street. All we're asking going forward, folks, if we can just be in compliance with Government Code 65090AB and Government Code 65094, which deals with the location of the actual subject of the hearing. The last notice that was put out has 47 parcels on there, and only 4 of them actually had to do with the actual subject location. So going forward, can we please maybe get an effort to be in compliance with that? We believe that you folks aren't not. Speaking of compliance with laws, Title 8, U.S. Code Section 1325, alien entry into the United States. When folks don't enter legally, they're called illegal aliens according to this statute. We got to fix that. And what I mean by that is it's being enforced. So if you don't want to be considered a criminal, don't violate the law. Garden Grove Municipal Code 2.02.020. It's your responsibility to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of California. You need to do that. If you're going to go out and put out letters, and I'm speaking to the junior council members right now, to asking folks to spend dollars, funds, public resources in unlawful activities, you're going to have a problem with Government Code 8314 AB3. You can't be doing that. It's here in the law. Also, too, if you do that, you're going to put yourself in jeopardy, and you might be violating 182 of the Penal Code, subsection A5, and that's the obstruction of justice of duly administered laws of the land. You shouldn't be doing that. If you are caught doing that and we find out about it, we're going to file complaints with the Department of Justice, the DA's office, and the Fair Political Practice Commission. So we're cautioning you right now. A lot of fear-mongering going on right now. There are a lot of emotions, we get it, but the law is the law. Maybe we can look at putting some seminars together to explain to some of these folks what the law is, so the fear-mongering doesn't take over and people get lost in it. With that being said, we just like you folks just to comply with the law and mind yourselves. Don't bend over to the fear-mongering. Just make sure we're doing what we're doing. In the meantime, God bless President Trump, ICE, and wow, huh? Tolerance out there. All the tolerance. A lot of tolerance out there. And there you go. See, I'm speaking here.
Please.
And also, God bless the Garden Grove Police Department. Thank you.
Thumbs up. Thank you. Excuse me. Excuse me. Gentlemen. I'm calling for a 5-minute recess. If you cannot control your language and your temper in this chamber, you'll be asked to leave. Let's go, 5 minutes. All right, let's go ahead and get back at it here. We still have a handful of cards to get through. We left off with Sylvia Martinez. I'm sorry, yes. Apologize.
Hello. My name is Jessica Zamudio. I live in District 5 on the border of District 6 as well. A lot of people have been talking about the recent ICE raids, and that is something that is on my mind as well. Especially when it comes to Garden Grove and their assistance of releasing information on ICE raids as well. I also know that some people were confused, actually, in the audience. Being an illegal immigrant is not a criminal infraction, it is a civil infraction, just to define that. I really wish that our city would do more and take a stand, especially when it comes to being a neighboring city to Huntington Beach that gave their own status as a non-sanctuary city, and how we also sit right beside Santa Ana, which is the first and only sanctuary city. I also urge Garden Grove to actually enact policies to create this to be a sanctuary city. People have also talked about funding for resources, and there are a lot of free resources that the city could be providing. People have mentioned the OC Rapid Response Network. I have a poster of theirs that's actually incredible information that is for anybody, citizen or non-citizen alike. I took it upon myself to go around my own neighborhood, printing with my own paper, printing with my own ink, these flyers and putting them in my neighborhood. And some of them have been taken down by certain neighbors, but this is something the city can do. I got this PDF for free. It was on the Santa Ana City website, but not the Garden Grove City website. When I talk about our website, we haven't had any updates on ICE regarding that since 2019. I checked. So there are free things that the city can be doing, like even putting up a PDF that they didn't make, that a community member made, and put it on their website. There's more that you guys can do, I'm sure. And I, like many of the residents behind me, do not want any collaboration between GGPD and ICE. I don't know anybody in my neighborhood that trusts the Garden Grove Police Department, and collaborating with ICE would make it even worse. And then I will leave you with an anecdote that ICE is very lawless. They've showed that they are lawless. They steal from people. When you get released from a detention facility, they have stolen wallets and they have stolen IDs. Do not work with a lawless government facility. Thank you.
Ryan Overman. And then it'll be Crystal Cervantes and then Sylvia Martinez. Sorry, I had everything all out of whack.
Hi, Madam Mayor, council members, staff. My name is Ryan Overman. I'm a project manager at RJ Noble Company. And your agenda number 12 is to award a contract for various streets project. And I'm here to promote RJ Noble and give you confidence that we can give you a good project, and we're the lowest responsible bidder who can start on time and finish on time within budget. We've been working with the City of Garden Grove for decades now, and I've been the sole project manager for my 25 years at RJ Noble, and thoroughly enjoyed working with the city. They're very diligent and thorough. We know when we start with the city, we got to bring our A game because you have a very good public works staff that we deal with. I know we have two projects that we're finishing now with the city, and they've been very successful. The city and public works staff is always very, the relationships that we have there, we're always able to work out issues and resolve any problems. Excuse me. But I know we do have an issue with a job that finished about 2 or 3 years ago. It's a subcontractor of ours who we haven't used again on a job since then. And the job that I'm hoping that you award today, they're not on this contract. And actually, it was a cement treating, pulverizing type work, and this contract doesn't have that. But the issue that we have with that, with our subcontractor, I feel like the path that we're on is a good path to get it resolved, and a good, meaningful. It might take a little bit of time, but I think we're on the right path. But I'm here for questions if you guys have any about the project or working. But I'm here to give you confidence that we've worked with the city before, and I enjoy the city. Like I said, I have 25 years working with everyone here. But if there's anything I can do to help answer any questions, I'm here.
Thank you very much. We don't really have a back and forth during oral communication, but we appreciate you attending tonight, and thank you for your comments.
Yes,
thank you, sir. Crystal Cervantes is next.
Hello, good evening, Mayor Kloppenstein and City Council members. Some of you may already know me because I'm a really active resident here in Garden Grove. I'm in District 2. My name is Crystal Cervantes, and I was born in Garden Grove. I've lived here all my 40 years, and I'm raising my own children here. As a homegrown Garden Grover, I am greatly distressed by ICE raids in our beautiful city, and our residents, they're suffering in the shadows. We've seen our community rise up and host food drives. Just Saturday, right here in Garden Grove High School, we organized a food drive where donations were received, and we helped over 200 families. But there are families who are too scared to leave their homes because of the presence of ICE. GGUSD has created a free helpline to try to connect families with resources. A small group of volunteers and myself, we've been trying to meet this need on our own. Last week, I delivered food boxes to their homes to 5 Garden Grove families who would not leave their houses because they were too afraid. They wouldn't even open the door to us, and that was okay. We just knocked, left the boxes, and let them know that the food was there. In less than a week, that number increased to over 30 families, and we are partnering with our Redeemer Lutheran Church, who said they can only do about 8 boxes. So that means we have to say no to 22 families who have reached out and asked for help. So we're asking, what is the City of Garden Grove doing to help our residents? The city just demonstrated a well thought out and thorough resource page for our unhoused community. I ask that we do the same. Let's create a resource page on our city website for our families in need, and please make resources available for our undocumented families who are in fear. They're facing food insecurity and loss of housing. We are not asking for the city to go against the federal government. We're just asking for our police to protect and serve. We're asking for our city to help our residents, and we can help and actively protect our residents without putting a target on our backs. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Crystal. Sylvia Martinez.
Hi, my name is Sylvia Martinez, and I reside in District 6. I'd like to start off saying that I actually wasn't feeling that well about 2 weeks ago, and even earlier this morning, a few symptoms came up again, but I'm recovering. I was actually even contemplating whether I would be able to attend this, and then it occurred to me what a privilege it is to be able to receive medical care from my awesome primary care physician. What a privilege it is to receive proper medication and care. What a privilege it is to drive to these facilities without worrying that I'll be pulled over. What a privilege it'll be later when I go get my groceries and when I wake up tomorrow to go to work. Not only because of financial stability or how diverse and welcoming the company has been to me, but because I have enough self-awareness to know how fortunate I am, while others are being ripped away from their families, and many who are simply trying to work, go to appointments, or get bare necessities are consistently on survival mode. I could go on about the stories my family has shared with me when migrating to the U.S., but I'm not interested in sharing that in order to receive some pity party or gratification for one's own personal agenda. Immigrant stories should be shared with purpose, not exploited. I will say a lot of my family members were in the right place at the right time. It was all based on mere luck. Anyone who came from immigrant parents should understand this. And now is the time to advocate for these people, our people. We ask of you, council, for transparency and aid and resources to help at-risk communities. I am quite aware of all the risks my family took when migrating over here, consistently reminding me to be grateful and humble for what I have. I will not lie to you and say I don't enjoy what this country has to offer me. But I will also not hide from the fact that this country was built on genocide, racism, discrimination, and fostering drug addiction, rapists, misogyny, and violence. It's a hard pill for many to swallow. In fact, it's easier for them to avoid any thoughts of resolution and blame it on others, like another country, or those that are more likely to be more oppressed. History shows a telltale sign of it, and we are witnessing it once again. We cannot get comfortable with these forms of inhumane treatment. We cannot remain silent while this administration focuses on more communities to target. As Zora Neale Hurston said, if you are silent about your pain, they'll kill you and say you enjoyed it. And for our ICE agents, the smug and egotistical bastards, we ask of you, Council, that they reveal their faces with every inch of pride they have for this country. Council, I hope I have made my points clear enough for you, and I can only have faith that you will take affirmative action on the situation. Regardless, the community is coming together and building, with or without you. And please remember the privilege you have as you walk out of this building and head home tonight. Tomorrow, you and I can be the next target that this administration would love to dispose of. Matter of fact, I think some of us are already there. Thank you.
All right, my next three speakers will be Sky Cervantes, Claire Flores, and Michelle Salcido.
Good evening to the mayor, to the council members, and to the staff. My name is Sky Cervantes, and I'm a part of Resident 2, and I've lived in Garden Grove my entire life. I go to Pacifica, and I'm a rising senior, and it's an incredibly diverse school. 33% of us are Latino, 33% of us are Asian, and 33% of us are white, with the remaining 1% being of Indigenous and African American descent. I am proud to say that I am Asian and Hispanic. I am proud to be Korean and Mexican, but my question to you is Garden Grove proud of me? Because what I see are ICE agents terrorizing our communities, ripping apart families, and threatening our residents. Many of the people being kidnapped by ICE are Mexican immigrants who are far from the criminals that MAGA and Trump are painting them out to be. Not only this, but Asian American immigrants are also being targeted, such as what's happening in Little Saigon. Matter of fact, even legal citizens and people who are working towards their citizenship are being detained. What ICE is doing to our community is completely inhumane. These are hardworking people who are being taken away from their loved ones and kidnapped. These are innocent people that you guys are supposed to protect. Garden Grove should not be collaborating with ICE and should communicate this to its residents because we are here to demand transparency. How do we know that you won't go against us? How do we know you won't use your police force against us? How do we know that you won't betray us by supporting something like the horrific alligator Alcatraz that's opening in Florida? Your jobs are to ensure that our community is safe. What we demand is communication. Garden Grove should notify its residents when ICE is in our city because they threaten the safety of everybody, regardless of their citizenship. And now it's up to you because all eyes are on you, so make sure you're on the right side of history. And for those who are saying that these are illegal immigrants, that is such dehumanizing language. These are not criminals. Matter of fact, citizens are more likely to commit crimes than immigrants. And for those saying that we are going against the federal law, why don't you look at Trump, who is not listening to the Supreme Court? What about the January 6th rioters who attacked our Capitol? And what about the people who are being deported without due process? And people who are even trying to get their citizenship are still being detained. They're being detained at immigration court. This is inhumane, and I do not want my city to support this. Thank you for your time.
Claire Flores.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Claire Flores. I'm resident of District 5 since 1989. I'm here to speak on behalf of the families that have been forced into hiding and the mothers and children being left behind when their husbands and fathers do not return home from work. My 17-year-old daughter, a Garden Grove High School student, felt the need to do more than just share graphics on immigration detention resources on Instagram. She planned and executed a food drive, not once but twice. Our first drive's donations were taken to Santa Ana simply because I could not find any information or any avenue on how to help our own residents. Thankfully, our second drive received support from Council Member Yesenia Muñaton and GGUSD Trustee Walter Muñaton. We received an overwhelming amount of donations and a beautiful show of support from volunteers of all ages in neighboring cities, some which are here with me. Every care package that we got from that drive went directly to Garden Grove residents and GGUSD families in need. I'm going to share a couple of messages I received. Our neighbor's husband was one of the workers taken from the car wash a few days ago. They have 4 girls. The youngest is 8 months. A local family of 3, which includes a current Garden Grove Unified School student athlete, finds themselves in urgent need of food and personal hygiene. The father works in home construction and gets most of his jobs from the local Home Depot. He nearly was taken at one of the early Home Depot raids. He finds himself unable to leave his home. Adding to this now, they're unsure if they're going to be able to send their student to school in August. Here's another one. I'm due soon. Can you help? I responded, what do you need? I need diapers, wipes, and food. I have an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old and a boy on the way. My husband was detained, and everything has gone downhill since then. Here's another one. My neighbors are afraid to go out. They're undocumented. Wife has cancer. Can I pick up groceries from your Saturday drive? I know many of you are afraid to speak up for what's right in order to not upset who is wrong. I will end my time with this. If the initiative and courage of a single 17-year-old girl was able to bring all these people together and help 133 families receive food and basic hygiene needs, imagine what an entire city could do.
Michelle Salcedo.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Michelle Salcedo. I reside in District 4. I have been a Garden Grove resident. My parents moved around a lot when I was little, and then we transplanted to Garden Grove, and then as an adult, I did leave, go to Los Angeles, and I came back. LA is still my home, but another home became present as I decided to have my own family, and that was here in Garden Grove, so I came back home. Now my home is being threatened, and I wanted to share some statistics about our wonderful city known as Garden Grove, pulled from the United States Census Department. We have at least, little under 200,000 community members. Of that demographic, 41% identify as Asian, close to 40% identify as Latino, 45% identify as foreign-born persons, meaning that they are immigrants in our community. Out of all of these individuals in our wonderful city, 67% speak another language other than English. And the reason I try to bring up these demographics or to demonstrate the type of demographics of the individuals that we serve is to show you the type of community that is built in this community, and that is the immigrant experience. Another statistic I also want to show in regards to businesses, there's a little over 3,038 businesses. Out of those businesses, 1,799 are minority-owned businesses. Latinos, Asian, folks from Little Arabia to Little Saigon. There is a plethora of people and demographics and community that make the fabric of our community beautiful. And the reason why I bring up these statistics is also to show and demonstrate, because sometimes some folks need to hear the contribution to society, especially when it comes to dollars, because dollars matter, unfortunately, especially for some of you and some rando community members as well. They want to know in what way immigrants contribute to society. Well, there you go. More than 75% of our businesses are minority owned. In addition to that, I bring up these to demonstrate the contributions that minorities make and continue to make in this community that we all call home. I also want to just identify the fact that I'm bringing you a glimpse of the representation identified as Asian and Latino predominantly because of the fact that they are the ones that are currently targeted within this legitimate threat known as ICE. These threats are from groups that are individuals that are armed, masked. They refuse to identify themselves through agency, name, or badge. They are not going after criminals. Over 60% of those that have been detained are not criminals. They don't even have a criminal background. For individuals that assume that being undocumented in America is a criminal offense, it is not. It's an actual civil one that can actually be dealt with in an administrative manner. And I just want to highlight that we need to come together as a community, and I only thank those that have tried to do so. Thank you, Ms. Councilmember Muñetón, and also Arestegui.
Thank you. My next three will be Kyle Mason, followed by Mackenzie Duffy, and then Tim Fan. Kyle Mason, is he coming? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilman. I'm Kyle Mason, and I appreciate you hearing me out. I appreciate you guys stepping up to the plate and having more officers coming into my area and hanging out by the women's club. But we still have a homeless problem. I talked to the chief about it and gave him a couple videos, and he saw the videos and he took the pictures of the license plate. Hopefully they're gonna get the one clown. They're doing a lot of drug dealing in the Walmart parking lot and things. So, and would appreciate if you guys would still bring a few more black and whites in our area. Other than that, you gotta do something about the fences. There's people down there. I got a video of a guy, he just crawled out of there. I asked him what he's doing. I'm down in the hole smoking dope. Videoed. I mean, what more does it take? You guys put fences all the other places. I've been asking 2 years. The one guy asked for 1.5 years, and you guys put fences over there on Newland and the Garden Grove area by the freeways, but you haven't done anything for the Walmart, and that's the other thing, Walmart security. You gotta get those guys over there and do something. They're dumping their black water in the parking lot. You gotta put a stop to this kind of stuff. Their security stops around midnight and doesn't come in until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. There's nobody there in the morning time. It's me out there chasing them, and I work out in Indio Hills sometimes and I'm gone a lot. But I'm gonna be in the area and I've got aluminum ball bat, and it's called the solution. I have the solution to their problems and I'm gonna start using it. I got a wrecking crew of 10 guys and they're all begging me to go to work. So I'm asking you guys to get some of these homeless people out of this riverbed and out of the area of that mall and the women's club area where they're hanging out in the parking lot, and get the one cell phone tower taken out. And most of all, get the fences put up in the riverbed area, please. With the video I got, it's just unreal. I mean, I can't believe y'all ain't done anything about it yet. I've been asking for 2 years. This guy's asked for 1.5 years and he got fences. How come I don't? I'm white. Are you all prejudiced? And I want some fences put in. Please? I'll cut my minutes short. Thank you all.
Mackenzie Duffy.
Hello, my name is Mackenzie. Before I begin, I would like to thank the council members who have voiced their support and been active in direct action for our community during these violent ICE raids. Your voice and support for our vulnerable community is a prime example of the utmost important part of your position in our city, which is to keep our community safe. So I thank you for not only talking about community safety, but actually taking action to prioritizing it. It shows your integrity and dedication to our people. Now I would like to address the council as a whole. The city of Anaheim just recently rolled out Anaheim Contigo, a resource hub for their at-risk community. It includes financial assistance to pay for housing, utilities, and food for those who are too afraid to return to work. It also includes legal resources for those who are at risk. As we know, our country grants the right to due process regardless of citizenship status, and that right is being denied again and again, hence why these legal resources are so important. Anaheim City Council has also been very outspoken about condemning these raids and supporting their vulnerable community. This not only calls attention to the injustice that their community faces, but also sends a welcoming message that their vulnerable community will be supported and that their city is dedicated to prioritizing their safety. Additionally, Huntington Park City Council had a unanimous vote on an ordinance to promote trust in their community, which I just handed to you. It includes prohibiting the use of city resources from being used for any federal immigration enforcement and creating a system of transparency on the communication and enforcement relationship between the city and the federal government. They also have a possible resolution to utilize their police department for identifying ICE agents operating in their community. This came after a man was arrested for impersonating a federal agent. His truck had firearms, ammunition, radios, and more inside. What was later found out was that this man had a prior arrest record related to human smuggling. ICE agents hiding their identities and utilizing unmarked vehicles and uniforms opens the floodgates for violent predators to terrorize our neighborhoods. I have a 15-year-old Mexican stepdaughter. I'm sure you understand my fear and anxiety around her safety during these times. I say all of this to ask, when will the city of Garden Grove take action to protect our community? I'm sure you all believe you are fit to lead, as is the point of your positions, but now is the time for you to prove that you are. As our vulnerable community members are ripped from their homes, from their jobs, from their grocery store, and off the street. As our community members are terrified to leave their homes in fear that they will never return to their loved ones. Now is your time to show that you are fit to lead our community and keep us safe. Thank you.
Tim Phan.
Xin chào quý vị. My name is Tim Phan. I am the Civic Engagement Manager for Vic Rise. Thank you to the City Council, to all the attendees who've come out, and especially the first-time speakers. We're happy to have you. Today I am here to represent Vic Rise. Our work has been to advance the rights of immigrants, refugees, and asylum seekers in Orange County since 2018. I stand here today in solidarity with everyone concerned about the escalation of deportations across California, especially in Orange County. While the recent raids have deliberately targeted Latino communities, I'm here to explicitly highlight to both council and crowd how this has been affecting Người Vic in Little Saigon. Many of our Vietnamese community members who are most vulnerable to deportation have been living here in the United States for several decades. Many of them have been attending their check-ins with ICE from as little of 7 years to as high as 25 years without any problems or issues. The only thing was they lacked a viable pathway to citizenship. But under this administration, we've seen them become targeted for deportation without any due process. In fact, one of the 8 people that was sent to South Sudan this month was Vietnamese. He was sent to a country with no existing tie or family roots, without any real due process to contest this injustice. Now, the erosion of due process has led to racial profiling, abuse, and dehumanization, in particular of our Latino neighbors, like the man violently tackled by a Border Patrol agent who was merely waiting at a bus stop down the street at Song He Market. Now, Little Saigon's residents are not just Vietnamese, they are our Latino friends and neighbors who are now reluctant to work, to play, to shop, to live openly due to the real fear of kidnapping by immigration enforcement who've shown zero sense of accountability for their actions. Now, I know for our Vietnamese community, this is an important year for us. It is the 50th anniversary of the end of the Vietnam War. And I cannot imagine what it means to lose your homeland twice in one lifetime. I only know that it is our responsibility as children of asylum seekers to protect those who have made the journey. The Garden Grove City Council here, with many Vietnamese faces around this dais, and represent such a powerful and important part of Little Saigon, we have such an important responsibility to these stories. And I close with the story of Vivian Doe. Vivian is a Garden Grove resident and a recent college graduate whose father was detained by ICE at the Atlanta facility on March 5th. He was detained for several weeks, and in the span of one day, he was sent to LAX and then eventually on a plane to Vietnam with no notice to his family or lawyers who were told they would have a chance for release. Please remember, even one person deported is a family ripped apart, a community shattered, another dream of redemption extinguished forever. I ask you to think of Vivian, to all our Vietnamese and Latino residents who are living in fear and uncertainty. Thank you very much.
All right, our next 3, Anna Urzua, Vladimir Bentes, again, I apologize, I'm doing my best here, and Morgan.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the Council. My name is Ana Urzua. I am a graduate of Garden Grove High School and have recently returned to live in Garden Grove District 4. I came to express that I hope you feel as horrified as I that kidnappings are happening in this city because no one should be subjected to the terror and dehumanization that we are witnessing today. That it is happening to anyone at all is grounds enough to do something about it. By now you know that people are being abducted, ambushed, beaten, taken without a warrant and with no answers, often by masked people who do not identify themselves. Families later struggle to find their loved ones in detention databases. Some people we don't find information about at all. Can you imagine a toddler whose mom didn't come home? An infant who doesn't yet eat solids and needs to nurse? A father whose income the family depends on? My 4-year-old daughter calls the kidnappers the masked monsters. I've seen less families at the libraries and parks because families are on lockdown. This will have long-term implications on our local economy and our overall mental health. I ask, therefore, that the City of Garden Grove not collaborate with ICE. I ask that you send warnings to your residents of enforcement activity, that you provide emergency relief to impacted families, that you demand that no federal agents be masked, that ICE get the heck out of OC. I'm infuriated by the ignorance of people who claim that there are amnesties to take advantage of when there aren't clear pathways to citizenship for the majority of people, who think that federal dollars don't come from our dollars, that undocumented human beings, because no one is illegal, contribute $100 billion in taxes every year. I am heartened by the number of everyday people standing up for one another. My neighbor has offered her yard so that we can grow food for the block. My other neighbor swaps us lemongrass for the banana flowers from our trees. This is the garden grove that I have experienced, one that cares and looks out for one another. And this is the example you should lead with as public servants. You talked about hope and families many times tonight. You need to protect your residents now to fulfill your promise of hope for all Garden Grove families. To end, I firmly believe that change is coming, that there are more people of conscience and compassion that see that we are all interdependent, that an injustice to one is an injustice to all. Justice will prevail, and history will account for the crimes on humanity committed in these times. What side will you be on?
Vladimir?
Thanks, Tricky. Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff. I've lived in Garden Grove for over 20 years. I live in District 1. I've lived in District 1 the entire time. First and foremost, I'm the son of immigrants. My parents came here undocumented, and they had the luck that there was an amnesty sometime in between there, right? So I know I come from privilege. So when I hear people talking out of the side of their mouths about things that they don't know about, it's really hurtful. Here's the thing. I assume that the people that we all know I'm talking about probably consider themselves Christian, and I don't believe they are, because the Lord says love thy neighbor, and they're not loving their neighbor. And right now, our neighbors who are undocumented are living in fear. I'm in danger, but the upside I have is I'm born here. But right now what we're seeing everywhere is people are being hunted down in the streets by the way they look. You look foreign, boom, we're coming for you. There's no due process, there's no search and seizure. We're talking about following the law. That is the law of the land, the U.S. Constitution. But aside from that, our families that are the most vulnerable right now need to see that their city stands with them. I've been doing community work since I was a young adult here in the city of Garden Grove. I gave a lot of my time to the after-school programs here, so I know that the funding for our state's after-school programs come from the state. Very little from the federal government. Thank you, Arnold Schwarzenegger, for that. But at the end of the day, our neighbors need our help. And I've seen the great things that the youth have done here. Garden Grove High School, Santiago High School, getting their parents involved, but it's the youth leading it, and it really should be the adults stepping up right now. And we need resources for our people. No one should live in fear. No human is illegal. Everyone deserves to feel safe in their hometown. Garden Grove is not my hometown, but it has grown to be. I've met so many great people from Garden Grove who love this city, and they see what's going on, and it breaks their heart, it breaks my heart.
At the end of the day, we're humans, and we need to treat each other like that, and we need to stand up for our most vulnerable. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Morgan. I'm a resident of District 4. And thank you for listening tonight. I come to you as a teacher. I'm very worried about my students this coming fall that will have a lot of trauma to unpack from this summer. Families and friends of immigrants no longer fear deportation to their home country as the worst, but a deportation to a third country or an inhumane and inhospitable detention center where human rights violations have been occurring and people have died. We are a city of immigrants, and we have reason to fear that the next ideation of Trump policies will target naturalized citizens and green card holders. We need to start resistance now. Garden Grove, resistance now. If we were to comply with federal laws, then don't let federal agents detain people without warrants. It's not about money. I did look into some spending warrants, and I did find $8,000 went to Disneyland Resort. So I unfortunately do not have the citation for that, but I will find it and bring it to you next time. I have been involved with a group running groceries for undocumented families, and with just $1,000, I was able to buy groceries for 4 families for 2 weeks. So with that $8,000, imagine how many people you could feed. I know you can find the money somewhere. Somewhere. Look deep inside your hearts. The thing is, this is going to impact, if you care about businesses, this will impact our businesses and our families with mixed immigration statuses. Maybe their parents can't vote, but they will someday vote, and they will not vote for you if you stayed silent. Maybe if you don't care about people now, you will care about the absence of their labor or money or future vote. I also come to you as a Christian. If you are a Christian, allow me to preach. I was listening to the radio, and there was a lawyer advertising their services to help people obtain a perdón. If Jesus forgives, why do you not see this as something that people want, a perdón, which is Spanish, perdonar, is to forgive. I do not believe immigration is a sin, but if you do, please consider the example of Jesus. Crossing the border and staying in the country without documentation is a civic infraction and not a criminal infraction. Thank you.
Our last 3 cards, Mike Gilliard, Joshua Ramos, and then Joe Nightingale.
Hey, my name's Mike Gilliard. I wanted to just start and say thank you for giving me this platform. Thank you for your time. And I wanted to commend all the brave people that came up here and shared their experiences, their views. All of that is valid, and I hope the message is clear tonight. You know, we started this meeting with a pledge to allegiance, right? And I believe that right now our country, and for what it stands for, is in peril. I believe in our country. I believe in everything that it stands for. I believe in the 4th Amendment. I believe in habeas corpus. And right now, all of our rights are under attack, right? We have masked officials coming in to our homes, into our communities, right? And they're coming in, they're snatching people away, they're taking them without due process. That is, we all stand for the Constitution and all the things that we hold dear about this country. This is a country of immigrants. All of us are immigrants. One way or another, the only people that were here are the first people, which were the Native Americans. All of us are immigrants. I think you can all find it in your hearts to do something about this and try to make sure that our communities are safe. To the gentleman that was speaking earlier about federal funding, that's fear talking. I don't think any of us need to live in fear. I think all of us should take pride in our community, and I think all of us should take pride in what it stands for and what we can all do when we band together. If we live in fear and we create a community that lives in fear, it just breeds more fear, fear-mongering, and more problems. Nobody will want to be here, nobody will want to shop here, nobody will want to come out into our communities and be a part of the community. My wife and I, we have 2 kids. We planted roots here. We want to be here for the rest of our lives. We want this to be a safe community. We want it to be a community where people feel like they're protected by the officials that are elected to represent them. We want to make sure that everybody's voice is heard. Right now, it's not. Right now, we need transparency. We need you guys to act. We need you to find ways to act. We need you to find ways to help protect the people that live here. I want to leave you with a thought that a lot of people have talked about transparency, and right now I've seen a lot of government complacency. I want to remind you that your actions are what define you, right? And I hope you choose to live on the right side of history. Thanks for your time.
Hello, Council. Thank you for having me. I do want to say I was born in Garden Grove Hospital in 2006. I attended Evans Elementary, Roston Intermediate, and then Garden Grove High School right across the street. So that gives you an idea of where I've been all my life. So I was taught from a young age by my Mexican grandmother, the most Mexican woman I've met, an immigrant as well, to love my country. She would say, ama tu país, because she didn't speak a lick of English. She said, love your country. Sadly, I have to admit that I have nothing to love right now. I admit that Garden Grove is a beautiful city, a city that I have loved and will continue to love for the entirety of my life. I was born here. Hopefully I will die here too. But as many of us have shared today, the constant raids are terrorizing our beautiful community, especially the immigrant community in Southern California, which is massive and a true driving force behind the American spirit. To continue to remain silent on the issues that have been on all our minds, let that be the ICE raids, immigrant disappearances, and the destruction of the American creed, would be turning your backs on the people of Garden Grove, citizens or not. This council should uphold human decency for all. For the Statue of Liberty reads, "Give me your hungry, give me your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free." This should be the way of this country and the way of Garden Grove. I am currently a second-year college student, a history major. And if history has taught me anything, it is that it will remember these very moments in our history. In the history of this country, you will be remembered. Whether you stood with the people of Garden Grove, with the immigrant community of California and of the country, or whether you stood with a tyrannical and villainous administration that currently governs. Now, I understand your power is limited, and I understand that maybe there's not much you can do. But please, if you can, I implore you, push for human decency, for humanity. Just a month ago, we saw the father of 3 United States Marines thrown and tackled on the floor. One of those Marines was an Afghanistan veteran. 2 others are active duty. If you're not going to stand up for immigrants, stand up for the armed forces of this country who fight to preserve the liberties that are being denied to their families. Please and thank you.
Evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Joe Nightingale, and the last council meeting I admonished the mayor because I'd said I'd made several trips to see her to get some information about helping a homeless lady on the streets. Well, I was wrong because she didn't know. And to let people know, before I left the building that night, there was a man by the name of Tim Throne waiting for me out in the hallway to give me an appointment to meet him. And I did, and I called him the next day. We had an appointment, and we were there about an hour and a half. He wasn't in a hurry. He wanted to know every detail about this woman, about her health, everything that I had in my little journal he wanted to read about. Well, the next day, I got a call from an organization called Be Well, and the man's name was Steve, and I can't pronounce his name right, but I think it's Nishanian, I believe it would be. And so I've been working with Steve to get this woman off the street. Now, this woman has Huntington's disease, and it's terminal. And she already has the shakes, as Parkinson's, and she can't get a job. She can take advantage of the services, but she has no way to get a job. She She has nowhere to live. She lives right now on the street on Catella, down the street from my house. And all she has is a little dog. And so Steve Nashanian, after having meeting him for a little while, having talked with him a little while, I realized that with him, he's really driven. I mean, he has a good fit with that Be Well, and it's like it's his passion to help the homeless. I mean, he does. Everyone has a job, but this man, all he does is his passion is homeless. I mean, he goes out of his way, and so. Like I say, I'm here to apologize again to the mayor because I was wrong. And if you're wrong, you have to own up to it. And I was wrong. And so far, it looks like it's real good. This lady, Steve, is really going outside of his work, I guess you would say, to help her. And hopefully she'll be one of the success stories that we've seen on the program tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Apology accepted. Hopefully we can find that woman the help that she needs. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you to all the speakers tonight. That wraps up oral communication. That was a lot of cards. I appreciate you coming out, sharing your views. I took notes on every single one of your statements today on the back of the pink card. So thank you all very much for your time and for your comments this evening. We're going to go ahead and take another 5-minute recess. Guys. Back at it. I actually think we have to move to other legislative bodies. I kind of forgot about successor agency. So let's convene that and call roll, please.
Member Breitigam?
Here.
Member Nguyen?
Here.
Member Tran?
Here.
Member Dovin? Present. Member Aristegui?
Here.
Vice Chair Muñedon?
Here.
And Chair Klopfenstein.
Here. We held oral communication. Yes, we did. And so now we're moving on to our consent calendar, and we have received and filed the minutes from the meeting held on June 24th.
I move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Call for the vote, please.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
All right, with that, we will reconvene council, and we'll move into our consent calendar. Do we have a motion?
Move it.
Move.
Second. You can pick from a various, we have a motion and a second. Call for the vote, please.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
That moves us on to item 7, public hearing.
Yes, this evening we have a public hearing for introduction and first reading of ordinances approving zoning amendment numbers A-042-2025A and A-042-2025B to amend various provisions of Title IX land use and of the Garden Grove Municipal Code to comply and conform to changes in state and federal law and city policies, with the ordinances entitled, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Grove approving zoning amendment number A-042-2025A, a text amendment to Chapter 9.54 accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units of Title IX land use of the Garden Grove Municipal Code to comply with state law, and an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Grove approving zoning amendment number A-042-2025B, a text amendment to portions of chapters 9.04, 9.08, 9.12, 9.16, 9.18, 9.32, and 9.60 of Title IX of the City of Garden Grove Municipal Code to conform to state and federal law and city policies, to replace subjective language and to make clarifications and typographical corrections. And Mr. Preet Kastla is here to provide that report.
Good evening, City Council. The item before you is a city-initiated text amendment to provisions of Title IX of the Municipal Code. The proposed changes would generally fall into two categories: ADUs and code cleanup items. With frequent state ADU law changes, the city's ADU ordinance is updated on a regular basis. On the other hand, it's been a few years since there's been a cleanup amendment to other portions of Title IX. This cleanup amendment is the first in what will be a recurring event. This code amendment was heard by Planning Commission on June 5th and recommended to City Council for approval. We will begin with the proposed ADU amendment. To ensure consistency with the most recent state laws, the state requires cities to update their ADU ordinances and to submit to the State Department of Housing and Economic or Community Development for review. The proposed amendment includes two main categories: mandatory updates to this that the city is required to adopt to comply with state law, and updates to clarify and improve upon existing ADU code provisions. Examples of required changes would include allowing an additional third ADU and ADU conversion on single-family lots, allowing up to 8 detached ADUs as well as ADU conversions for multifamily developments, waiving development standards to the extent necessary to allow the construction of at least an 800 square foot ADU, increasing maximum heights to 18 feet for detached ADUs and to 2 stories and 25 feet for attached ADUs, and the replacement or no replacement of off-street parking spaces demolished in conjunction with the construction of an ADU. Examples of clarifying amendments for ADUs include, but are not limited to, adding provisions for pre-approved ADU plans, clarifying requirements for laundry and trash collection, and clarifying setback requirements for porches/patios, garages, and mechanical equipment. The cleanup amendment would clarify language, fix typographical errors, improve formatting, create consistent standards across different zones, and establish or update new definitions. Examples of these changes would include allowing banks in the CC3 zone, update entitlement appeal provisions, mail public hearing notices to not only the property owners but to residential tenants, removing outdated orientation and access requirements for tattoo shops and arcade uses in mixed-use zones, removing minimum lot size requirements for religious uses, allowing fortune-telling uses by right in commercial and mixed-use zones in accordance with state law, adding quote-unquote thrift retail stores as a defined use and allowing them as by right uses in commercial and mixed-use zones as required by state law, establishing shared parking agreement procedures and standards for underutilized parking sites, and updating public noticing procedures for entitlement projects, including to address state law changes for noticing for amendments. With that said, staff recommends that the City Council take the following action: conduct a public hearing and adopt the ordinances that approve the amendments. This concludes staff's report, and we are available for any questions.
Thank you for the report. So colleagues, before I open the public hearing, any questions of staff?
Madam Mayor, in looking at this, are there any, and this is basically for the public record, are there anything contained in this ordinance that is not required by the state, or B, a cleanup, fix the typos, that kind of stuff? Is there anything else in this ordinance that is not state mandated or just to clean it up and that type of thing?
Not necessarily. There are some things that we've in some way added to the code, but those are really established practices, different policies that the staff has already had regarding ADUs and these other provisions of the code. So those are now codified and added in basically to follow along with other policies that have already been established.
Can you elaborate on some of those policies, please?
Some of those would be, there isn't, for ADUs as an example, you can currently do a ADU conversion. We allow for porches and patios. In our current code, it specifies for new ADUs to do porch and patio up to 80 square feet. This now would codify a policy that we've had where we allow for conversions to also add a patio. Things like that, where it's not really all that substantive, but they do codify different practices that we've already established.
Okay. For me, I get the constant complaining about the ADUs, and quite frankly, I think everyone here on the council gets, we're not happy with them, as generally speaking. What they're doing to our community is beyond repair. And with that being said, I don't feel it's appropriate to codify something into an ordinance that's not mandated by the state that might give the inference that maybe we're being supportive by not making them have a patio, or quite frankly, anything we can do to prevent people from wanting to build these things, we should be doing, in my opinion. They're not helping. They're becoming full market rental units. They're not helping our low, permanent supportive housing or any of that. They're not becoming low income property rentals for people. They're basically full market rentals, and they're destroying our community. No parking. We're building right up to the lot lines now. Increased height. All this stuff going on. So I would be against anything that adds any kind of codification of ordinance or law that isn't mandated by the state. And I'll leave it at that.
All right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone in the public wishing to speak on this item? All right, with that, we will close the public hearing, and I will open it up to any further discussion, comments, questions before we move on to a vote. Do I have a motion to support? Anyone going once?
Motion.
All right, so we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Call for the vote, please.
Just a quick question for Pete. When will the ordinance go into effect?
It comes back for second reading at your next meeting, and if it's adopted at your next meeting, it takes effect 30 days later.
Okay, motion received. We have 5 yes votes, and Councilmember Brightingham voting no, and Councilmember Tran absent.
Thank you. With that, we will move into items for consideration. We have already voted on item number 8. We will move to item number 9.
Item number 9 is an award of contracts to Kaiser Marston Associates, Inc. and Tierra West Advisors, Inc. to provide financial feasibility consulting services. And Mr. Timothy Throne is here to provide the report.
Tim, before you begin, I know we had some, since it's getting late, before we have a staff report on this, I know we've all read through the staff report and so forth. Does anybody object to waiving that reading of the staff report and moving to a vote?
I'll move that we waive it.
Yep. So then at this point, I would need, if there's no other questions or comments, I would take a motion in a second, please.
Second.
Call for the vote, please.
Easy for you.
I'll be
Motion
doing this-
received with 6 yes votes.
Thank you.
And Councilmember Cindy Tran absent.
Item 10.
Item 10 is approval of an amendment to increase the annual not-to-exceed limit to the agreement with CSG Consultants, Inc. for on-call planning services.
I think I'd like to do the same if we can. We can waive the staff report if everyone's comfortable and feels that they have the knowledge that they need to vote on this item. Waive. I have a motion and a second. Call for the vote, please.
Motion received, 6 yes votes with Councilmember Tran absent.
Very good. City Attorney, a bit of clarification on number 11. Since it is a first reading, do we need to have the staff report?
We don't need to have any staff reports. We do need to read the title of the ordinance into the record, though.
All right, Madam Clerk, please.
This evening, we have the introduction and first reading of an ordinance amending chapters 8.47 of the Garden Grove Municipal Code pertaining to noise and construction hours, entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Grove, amending section 8.47.060 of chapter 8.47 of Title 8 of the Garden Grove Municipal Code pertaining to permitted construction hours.
Thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and waive the staff report on this item. As we have the past 2 items, I know myself personally, I'm in support of this. I think it's good for quality of life and just the betterment of construction. Yes.
Quick comment. I'd like to go ahead and tell what those hours are so the public
Yep,
can hear.
please.
We're changing the construction hours from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. on Saturdays. No construction or repair work will be permitted on Sundays or federal holidays. So I think the community would be very supportive of that.
I agree. Is that a motion?
And I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second? Motion and a second. Call for the vote, please.
Motion received, 6 yes votes with Councilmember Tran absent.
That takes us to item 12.
Item 12 is an award of contract to RJ Noble Company for the 2025 various streets rehabilitation project, City Project Number 144-2000 and 2025 5-year landscape and irrigation maintenance, City Project Number CP 155,000.
Colleagues, are we comfortable with?
Yeah, I'd like to just make another quick comment on that. I am, RJ Noble's been a really good company in the city of Garden Grove. They've been beyond reproach. We do have a small little incident going on currently. I don't really fault them. It's more of a subcontractor issue. I was kind of hoping we could say, look, get this resolved or we won't go with this, but I don't want to do that either. So I do think they will do everything in their power to make us whole. And so with that, I'll make the motion.
I'll second. I have a motion and a second. Call for the vote, please.
Motion received, 6 yes vote with Councilmember Tran absent.
Thank you, colleagues. We'll move into matters. Hopefully we can move through this as expeditiously as we have these other items. We'll start with District 6.
Okay, so I'm going to go through logistics first and let everyone know that our District 6 Walk and Talk is back on calendar for Saturday, August 8th at 8 a.m. So I hope that you will be able to join us. Hopefully things will be a little bit more calm by then, and we won't have to postpone this again. First and foremost, in light of all of the activities that have been happening lately, I want to make sure that I highlight the effort that has been taking place in the community. And the one that I'm going to be highlighting in particular are the efforts of the Santiago High School Athletic Department, specifically Coach Carlos and Coach Eric from the boys soccer team and the girls soccer team, respectively. Also, teacher coach Miss Dune for helping us coordinate everything. And of course, our trustee Walter Muñetón and Councilmember Muñetón as well. The whole community came out, and it was so great to see all of the kids volunteering and helping put together the food packets. The Santiago team, they hosted a community food drive in an effort to provide some mutual aid for the families in the neighborhood. And they did serve over 100 families in the neighborhood, and it was just really heartwarming to see so many folks from the community come out and so many alumni that came and donated and also volunteered to deliver groceries for our residents. And it was really impactful just to see not only the amount of need that is in the community, but also how much the people in the community care for one another. And as these efforts continue, I hope to keep you guys informed as well. The team is organizing a fundraiser to help towards efforts in the next drive. So please be on the lookout for that information. You can find that on our social medias. We had a lot of speakers come today, and I want to thank everyone that came today. So many people in our community are directly affected by this issue. And I'm heartened to see also so many people in the community who are demonstrating allyship by coming and speaking on behalf of the people who maybe feel like they're scared and they're living in fear and they can't come out and say these things themselves. I'm scared myself. I'm scared for my family and my friends. We've been checking in with each other. Checking in with our residents and our business owners to make sure that folks are feeling better. And as we go forward, I really want to make sure that we address constituents' concerns responsibly, to make sure that we're properly informing our residents, and that we're really honest about what is within our capacity to accomplish, and what's doable for us as a city, and for us as well outside of being on this dais. I'm not one to foment the flames of false hope or want to mislead the community by proposing things without doing my proper research first. I think that that's irresponsible and negligent. And before I bring forward any propositions, I want to make sure that I'm consulting our city attorney and all of the appropriate folks to make sure that we are operating within the bounds of our jurisdiction and that we are protecting all of our staff. I've been watching every city council meeting from the city of Santa Ana for the last few weeks. And I, heard their city attorney speaking when they were discussing the letter that they received from the U.S. Attorney General. And it's very clear that that administration intends to inflict retaliation and consequences if they have any perception that a municipality, an agency, is trying to interfere with their authority to conduct federal investigations. And the threat was really clear. They would threaten the city council members with arrest and the city staff and the officers that attempted to, in their opinion, interfere with their investigation. And that raises a lot of concern for me because I, like my colleagues in the next city over, I don't want to see our city staff be in harm's way. I don't want my fellow members on the dais to be put in harm's way. I don't want our residents and I don't want our officers to face any risks without us properly informing ourselves first. So I'm going to continue to do my research before I bring anything here sporadically, and make sure that I'm asking all the questions so that we cross our T's and dot our I's. Because me just bringing something forward without thinking about it first, I don't want that to lead into any potential misinformation, right? And again, false hope is crushing, and that's not something that I want to do to my community. I do want to make sure to encourage folks to continue reporting activities to Orange County Rapid Response Network, and also to stay tuned for more mutual aid opportunities as we continue going. You know, we're working on a lot of stuff behind the scenes with our community partners, and you know, also for the safety of folks that receive that aid. You know, we want to make sure that we operate with discretion, and this is, you know, with regards to our activities off of this dais. So I want to make sure that folks understand as well that though there's sometimes we do not publicize certain things, does not mean that actions are not taking place. We're just trying to be as cautious as possible to make sure that folks that are particularly vulnerable are not exposed to additional risk. And in that effect, you know, I'm going to continue working with my colleagues here, with my colleague Yesenia in particular. We're going to continue working on advocating for our community. This is something that we're really committed to. This is where I was born and raised, you know. You guys all know my life story at this point, but you know, I have a great sense of duty to the folks that I've grown up with here, and the folks that I go to church with. And it matters to me that we go forward with as much responsibility as possible, and that we work with as many resources as possible at every level. So that means getting in contact and maintaining contact with our representatives at the county, state, and federal level. And I want folks to know that we are reaching out to these folks. You know, we're able to give them calls and have conversations with them, and we're trying to figure things out with them as well. And we hope that you will also continue in helping us advocate for the community, and also help us advocate with those representatives at the county, state, and federal level. You know, we sent out a letter to Congressman Derek Tran, and I do want to note that this was a very last-minute letter. You know, we felt a great sense of urgency, so we didn't get the opportunity to necessarily pass this around with the rest of our colleagues, so I want to be very transparent about that. But we had a great sense of urgency of, you know, we have answers that we need. And we know that his office is doing their best as well to try and get answers from federal sources, because it's difficult for us to be able to get accurate information about the things that some folks asked about, like the extent of the activity that has actually taken place in our city since the raids began, the number of residents that have been taken in, who are the residents that have been taken. We are as much in the dark as some members in the community who don't know where their families are, and so we're, you know, trying our best to get the information that we can from the appropriate and the best resources possible. So know that, you know, we're going to continue having this communication. We're going to continue speaking truth to power, holding people accountable, and just doing as much as we can. Before I go forward, I do want to take the opportunity to address some of the questions. And I don't know, Omar, is it okay for me to ask you a few questions off the cuff?
You can ask all the questions. Whether I can answer is
okay. Well, we're missing the audience today, but you know, I mentioned that it's important for me to make sure, for me and for all of us, really, to make sure that we are providing as much clarity as possible. Our residents ask for transparency, so I think it's also important for us to inform them about what our processes are as a city, what we do as a city, and make sure that there aren't any misunderstandings. Right? I know a lot of the conversation in Orange County in particular has been driven by a lot of the activity and the conversations that have been had in, like, our neighboring city of Santa Ana. But, you know, we are structurally a different type of city. We also have a different culture here. We do things a little bit differently, and I want to make sure that the heart of our dais does not get lost in the sauce, but also that we are doing our part to properly inform our residents. So the first question that I want to ask has to do with the difference between resolutions and ordinances. And this is very basic. I know this is Civics 101, and I am so sorry to all of my colleagues and all of the staff, but I think it's really important that we understand what these words mean when folks are talking about them and they're discussing them in public comment and on the dais. So Omar, what is the difference between a resolution and an order? Sorry, an ordinance. Thank you. An ordinance.
So an ordinance is actual law that can be enforced in the city if it's within your jurisdiction. So the Constitution grants authority for adoption of ordinances. Charter cities have direct authority. Our city is a general law city. Our authority comes from the state of California and state laws. So we're limited to what state law indicates the city council can adopt to enforce locally in your jurisdiction. A resolution is simply a statement of policy. So you can adopt policy. The difference is that the policy adopted by ordinance can be enforced through misdemeanor or through administrative fines. Policies adopted by resolution are civil in nature. You can't necessarily put a penalty to it. When you have your own policies and procedures, there really is no penalty. You're just adopting a statement. This is our policy, procedures. If you want to enforce a law, then you have to do it by ordinance. And to give you an indication of what we have to do in order to adopt an ordinance, a resolution you can just put on the agenda, adopt it, it's done. An ordinance requires 2 readings. You have to make an introduction, and then you have to allow 5 days in between to do a second reading and then adoption, and then it's not effective until 30 days later. Because an ordinance is subject to referendum, it's law, it's legislation. And ultimately the people keep the right on the California Constitution to either contest and overturn the policy. I mean, the state of California, they can adopt an ordinance or a law, and it's subject to referendum. The people can collect signatures. If enough signatures are collected, then it goes on the ballot, and then the people can overturn what the state legislature does. Same thing for city council. And that 30-day period is a referendum period. It's also a challenge period. Because if your ordinance is not compliant with state law or the Constitution, then it can be challenged in court, and that's a 30-day statute of limitations for that. Some other ordinances have a 90-day statute of limitations, and that's for land use ordinances. For example, the 2 ordinances you adopted today, actually the 3 ordinances you adopted today are subject to a 90-day statute of limitations. Even though they take effect 30 days after second reading, someone can challenge them up to 90 days. So that's the difference between both. And I can give you a lot more information about that.
Oh, you know that I love asking you questions, Omar. But I really want to make sure, and I really appreciate that you mentioned in your explanation the distinction in that we are a general law city, because that means that we are bound to California law. And so when there's resolutions or ordinances that are floating around in other cities, it's important that we're mindful of what it is that we can actually accomplish within the bounds of the jurisdiction of the law for us. And, folks have brought up things like the Huntington Park Ordinance and the Huntington Park Resolution, the ordinance being an ordinance to declare Huntington Park a sanctuary city, and the Huntington Park Resolution having to do with the masking of officers. So understanding the differences, a resolution being a policy point, not enforceable by law, this is I'm putting you I'm really throwing you into the deep end right now, Omar, but are you aware of any ordinances from any cities in California that would preempt federal law with regards to something like this?
No, not even the state can preempt federal law. I mean, the governor has control over the National Guard and cannot get, the federal government to give him power to control the National Guard. If the governor doesn't have the power, how can any of you or, any local jurisdiction have that power?
So if we requested to put forth an ordinance for something like requesting the unmasking of officers of all different levels in our city, that would be preempted by federal law.
Yeah, federal law is paramount.
Okay. So sorry, Omar. Again, more questions. So knowing that we are a general law city and understanding that we are bound to state law, there are bills out there like the No Secret Police Act, which is going through the process in the legislature, that which would tackle some of these issues with regards to masked and unmasked officers, with certain exceptions, of course. But should the No Secret Police Act pass at the legislature, would then our officers in Garden Grove be bound to the rules of such act?
Well, there's already laws in the penal code that governs how our officers operate. For example, state law requires our officers to have a name tag and a number, and you can see them.
Yep.
It's illegal for them to try to enforce the law without those. And if asked by the public, they're supposed to identify themselves. So that's already state law. We're talking about federal officers, and again, I'm not sure that state law is going to be able to regulate federal officers.
Okay. And just to double check here, just crossing our T's, dotting our I's, our law enforcement officers are subject to the California Values Act, also known as SB 54, which prevents our police officers from enforcing a federal immigration law. So, Omar, am I accurate in saying that our police department is not aiding ICE in immigration enforcement?
Yeah, that's correct, and our chief has actually said that as well, and we've been saying that forever.
Yeah, so we saw the information that was provided to us from the records collection, and the thing about the courtesy calls is that they're just that they're a courtesy, so they don't have to give us a call. So, I mean, this is me, rhetorically repeating the question, but do they have to, or are you aware of any legal mechanisms that we could use as a municipality to compel federal immigration agencies to inform us when they conduct activity in our city?
No.
Okay. And let's see. Let me make sure I'm tackling all of my questions. Okay, perfect. Now, my last question is, we saw folks ask us about the possibility of having a type of resource hub in the city, a page with know your rights information, as well as potential links to other community resources or legal aid resources. Is creating such a page something that would legally put the city at risk?
What I can tell you is that if you do it for one group, you have to do it for all groups, because under both federal and state constitution, we are not allowed to discriminate, right?
Okay.
And so our current website is not a public forum. It's government speech. If you open it up to any group, anyone who posts my information on your website, you're creating a public forum. And once you create a public forum, you cannot discriminate. So if someone who doesn't like your viewpoint wants to post something, and you allow other people that you agree with to post, as a government agency under the Constitution, you are not going to be able to discriminate and only choose one speech versus another. And so most municipal attorneys will, provide the advice, and I shouldn't be doing this in public, but the reality is that if you open for one, you have to open for all, including viewpoints that you don't like, which is why we want to keep our website as government speech, only information pertaining to our government and the services we provide our community.
Thank you so much for answering my questions, Omar. I hope that this helps clarify at least some information. I know that there's still a lot of questions, and I urge folks that if you have any other questions, feel free to contact me. I'm happy to have these conversations with you. There is so much happening right now that it's really difficult to address this all at one time in one venue. And like I mentioned, I want to make sure that when we're addressing this issue, we're doing this as responsibly and also with the most amount of facts as possible, so that we can continue serving our community and working towards that. So I'm gonna pass this on to my colleague Yesenia.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone has had a great summer so far. I only have a few comments tonight. Last week, I had the pleasure of attending the Woodbury Park groundbreaking. I couldn't be more excited to see the transformation ahead. With $11 million being invested in this space, it is great to see our community prioritizing parks, open space, and family-friendly recreation. It was a wonderful opportunity to meet and It was a wonderful opportunity for me to connect with District 5 residents who came out to show their support, and like me, they're thrilled about what's coming. I can't wait to see the finished product and positive impact it will have on our community. Big things are ahead at Woodbury Park. This past weekend, we came together for a powerful and heartwarming community aid drive outside of Garden Grove High School. This event was made possible thanks to the vision of the amazing and kind-hearted Samantha, a proud Argonaut whose leadership and compassion were the driving force behind it all. In partnership with the Avena Flores family, we were able to support over 70 families on site and deliver 27 additional families through the community. Huge kudos to our dedicated Garden Grove moms and students and local residents who stepped in to volunteer and to donate. A special shout out to my incredible team of interns, Team Muñetón, with over 10 interns volunteering their time and energy to make this event successful. Also, an enormous thanks to Los Sanchez for donating food to fuel our volunteers, to OC Emergency Pet Clinic for the pet food, and Garden Grove Police Association for their generous food donations. We are also incredibly grateful to the many others who contributed in many ways. I want to thank all those who showed up today to speak. I hear you and I see you. I know taking the time to come here takes time. It takes courage, a deep love for your neighbors. Earlier today, I publicized the letter from myself, Ariana, and Mayor that was addressed to Congressman Derek Tran to ask for assistance to help our immigrant communities. We need all hands on decks on support our Garden Grove friends and neighbors, and this includes our local Congress representatives. I am working with Viet Rise and Harbor Institute to research the best practices on policy solution in our city that our city can take.
which I hope can bring back to this council for your support. I have done and continue to do what I can in my position, as folks have seen, but major policy decisions or direct actions would require a council majority. If there are any council members who are interested in serious conversations, my door is open to having these conversations. Let's work together to try to represent our very diverse community who is in need. Lastly, District 5 residents, join me in D5 coffee meet and greet with OC Supervisor Vicente Sarmiento on Saturday, July 26th at 9 a.m. at Hastur Basin Park. Come and enjoy a cup of coffee with pastries, connect with your neighbors, and chat with our local chat with us about local issues, community updates, and how we can make District 5 stronger together. This will mark our 4th community meet and greet, where we ensure that District 5 residents get the chance to directly hear from me and the issues they care about. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and colleagues. I'm going to be a little bit uncharacteristically longer today, since I will be taking time from my absent colleague, Cindy Tran, but I'll try to keep it brief anyway. First, I heard my name mentioned tonight by one of the speakers, and several speakers are residents of my district and speak to my district, D4. So it's important that I acknowledge all of our residents, not just the people that came tonight and spoke very passionately, but those who are at home, whose voices wasn't heard tonight, and their opinions are equally important. So I ask for a civil discourse, civil dialogue, where we spend the time we need to hear each other out and be fair to each other. So when I hear repeatedly, are you going to be on the right side of history? Well, Joe Dovan wants to be on the left side of history too. I'm a centrist. I will hear all sides. And for those who don't know my background, more than 30 years ago, I worked for the Northwest Immigrant Rights Project in Seattle, Washington. I'm an advocate for immigrants. I am an immigrant. I am opposed to criminalizing immigrants. I'm opposed to criminalizing immigration. But I'm for removal of criminal felons from our communities. There's a difference. Now, I've heard a lot of incidents about MacArthur Park, about Los Angeles, about Santa Ana, about other cities around the country. I have to focus on Garden Grove and what we can do here. And we can do a lot here. And we've done a few things, and yes, we can do more. I am supportive of the letter that our mayor and our two fine colleagues put out. 99%. 1% I hold in reserve, and I can't remember why. But I am behind it, 99%. And I hope you guys continue to act with urgency. You don't need me to sign on to it, but I'm orally signing on to it tonight, with a caveat that we should have a more inclusive discussion, groupthink. I'm all for groupthink. I would like our police department to brief us on policy and position. Our hands are not tied. We are limited. We are general law. I'm not a practicing lawyer like Omar, but I do have a Juris Doctorate, And my legal training tells me that you have to deliberate on the evidence. And we heard a lot of evidence tonight, and I want to hear more, but we're going to deliberate. And sometimes we lead from behind. I do. The citizens are our leaders. So yeah, you expect us to be the courageous lion, but sometimes we're the scarecrow. And we're here to lead from behind. And we share this forum with the public. When you come and speak during public comments, you are making use of your own tax dollars. So you're not just paying me, you're paying yourself to use this forum. This people power I'm looking for. And I heard a lot of it tonight. You, the people, empower us to serve you. So I repeat what my colleagues say. That is, we thank you for coming and for showing us your courage, your passion, and your leadership. I'm all for transparency and clarity. I'm just as upset as anybody in this town. I hear my own people from my own community, of my own background, and the others who I've grown up in and around Garden Grove and Orange County. And we're hurt. We're hurt. And we don't want this to continue. The fear is very real. Very real. But we don't need to be hysterical about it. There's a path forward. There will be clarity. There will be transparency. We're not taking this laying down. But we have to respect the law of the land. When Omar says federal law is paramount, what it means is in the Constitution there's a supremacy clause. And it trumps the state law. And it trumps our jurisdiction. We have to follow the dictates of our state. We're a general law city. We can't issue ordinances that is in conflict with our state and government authorities at the federal level, but we can issue resolutions. That's certainly within our power, and we will do that. I encourage my mayor and our colleagues, let's sit down. Let's write it up. Let's all sign on to it. I see all the young people, a lot younger than me, and I remember myself how I was. But the years have tempered my passions. I'm not low energy. I will act deliberately and for the benefit of as much people as we can. So I'm against extremism, whether it's from the left or from the right. And I will push back against any and all extremist tendencies. I will not be paralyzed by fear. And I'm telling our people tonight, need not fear. You don't need to be afraid. I've seen how fear has paralyzed us. I go to the swap meet in Golden West. It's half empty because the vendors are afraid. The people who I shop with every weekend are afraid to be in public. The nail salons who support our economy locally and beyond tells me their shops are absent of customers who don't come in. They're fearful. And I'm telling people, we don't need to be paralyzed by fear. We have to live our lives. This is not the new normal. It will never be the new normal. We live in a democracy. We respect each other's rights. I'm an advocate for immigrant rights, and I'm not the only one on this dais. And together, at least, we'll take a stand right here in Garden Grove. I can't speak for other cities. Not Los Angeles, not Santa Ana. I can only speak for Garden Grove and the people I represent in District 4. And I feel your pain, and I'm sending you my love. And if there's any comfort in Joe Dovan being on this council, we'll all work together. And if I'm not good for it, vote me out. Vote me out. But I'll be here as long as you give me your confidence, and I'm sure the rest of the council and our mayor will also be here for you. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Council Member College. Let me go back a little bit in the past and the present and the future. Talk to you a little bit. Last weekend, we enjoyed our 4th of July holiday. On holiday that we all unite with family, enjoy, and with all that celebration, we have to remember our privilege. That we can celebrate with the spirit of American patriotism, freedom, and national pride, honoring the courage and the vision of those who shaped our nation in 1776. So I wish you all enjoy your holiday with your family, unity, and cherished moment with a loved one. Go back with the present. Tonight, at our hearing, many of our residents come here to raise their concern about the immigration. The issue which happened in our city, in our city, but Philip Nguyen only concerned mainly is at Garden Grove, beautiful Garden Grove City. Yes, we do hear you. Yes, we are originally all immigrant, like you said. And Garden Grove is well known as an immigrant city. And I'm concerned. I'm worried. I'm with you. And therefore, I will do my best to work with you. In the same time, we have to respect and abiding with the federal law and the state law. I will do all the research to all the resources available to help you. But the next time, as any time, the chance we meet together, we'll work with you. And in the near future, I have a main point that at Christ Cathedral, we have a Marian Days titled Walking with Mary. And it's on Friday, July 11, and Friday, July 12, 2025. The Friday at 6:30 p.m., Marian Day, grand opening ceremony, and it will be end at 9 p.m. On Saturday at 8 a.m., it's a Marian Day for 2025, hearing Mass in honor of Our Lady of Lavang. And then I'll cut short, it will be end at 9 p.m., the Vietnamese cultural performance. During the time, plenary adoration received when attending any of the 3 Marian Day Masses. All-day adoration of the Blessed Sacrament. Confession offered across campus. Free breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Free will donation, of course. Free parking on Christ Cathedral campus and 5 surrounding parking lot in a complimentary shuttle will take you to the Mass, the Marian Day. Thank you.
Well, I too want to thank everybody that came out to speak tonight, no matter what side of that immigration issue you're on. That's what representative democracy is all about. We want to hear it. We want to know your thoughts, your views, and we can make more informed decisions. There was a couple misnomers during that time that I kind of want to clear, and I want to give kudos to Ariana for asking those hard questions. I mean, that's something that I was hoping when we had the crowd here that we could let them know that, you know, we are limited. We're not a charter city. We're a general law city. So some of those other cities that are able to do some things, we don't necessarily have that standing to do those things. And but I'd heard one woman come up and she was waving her, she had a list of notifications that I supposedly gave Garden Grove PD. And I've talked to, and we have never gotten any notifications, right? And then it hit me. I was watching a show the other day, and they were talking about they were receiving the notifications after ICE hits the locations. So the police department will know because they get these calls. Oh, there's somebody been kidnapped and this and that. So after they leave, they will sometimes make notifications to the police department, and they do that for just so the PD as a courtesy would know that it was us, or also to avoid if they pre-notified, some council members or some staffers might compromise their investigation. So I think that's why if they did notify, and I don't know that they did or didn't, I tend to believe the officers I've spoken to that they've never heard anything, and not in advance anyway. They might get the notification after the fact, and so I just want to kind of clear that up. Just because you get a Freedom of Information Act request and it shows ICE called the PD 13 times, that doesn't necessarily mean it happened before the event. It might have happened after as a courtesy type call. There was some people that said that, you know, everyone on this dais has been very vocal. Everybody has spoken on the issue. And so I think it's quite clear. And so I'm really glad that Ariana spent the time to ask those questions of our city attorney, and to get that clarification out so the general public will know. Your best venue for those kind of changes you're seeking isn't with the council, but it's actually probably with your state or federal officials that can actually have standing to do stuff about what you're doing. Although the grassroots efforts that are going on, you gotta praise these folks that are doing. They're living up to their beliefs. They're doing what they believe is right, and they're putting in the work, and they're helping folks as needed. And I know some of us have got social media links and stuff like that up, and you know, you're living by your convictions, and that's a good thing. Another thing, I got a post here, and let me see if I can pull this up real shortly. So, you know, we had this travesty in Texas with the flood. And there was a heroic Coast Guard member, Semper Paratus, by the name of Scott, Petty Officer 3rd Class Scott Ruskin. And then I got a follow-up text talking about they believe he is a Garden Grove resident. And so he saved the lives of 169 people during the Central Texas floods on July 7th. And now I haven't verified that yet, so take that with a grain of salt. So I'm still looking into that. But I just want to give kudos, even if he isn't a Garden Grove resident, to Petty Officer Scott Ruskin, who really went above and beyond. This was his very first mission, 19 years old. He led the triage coordination for most of the operation, helped direct victims, including girls from the Camp Mystic, to rescue helicopters. That in addition to the 169 people that he personally rescued during that operation. So I think he had a pretty successful first mission. Yeah. I think OCFA might want to try to hire him, you know. Garden Grove PD will, I know. Anyway, if I find out, digging into if he came out of Garden Grove, I will definitely share that, and maybe we can honor him here at the council. And that's all I have.
Good information.
Thank you very much. Well, I want to start by thanking my colleagues. I appreciate your measured voices this evening. I appreciate you sharing your thoughts. And Ariana, I also appreciate the questions asked. You were able to put that together very concisely, and I wish there was more of the public here to hear it, but obviously they can check back in and listen, because I think it's important that we do this. 40 pink cards is a lot, I think, was about where we were at this evening. Obviously, we all heard everything. We soaked that in. We have a lot to process and think about. I took notes on every single one of those cards this evening. I know that there's one thing, and I've said this before, that Garden Grove does extremely well. It's collaborate. We are good at teamwork. We're good at building groups of people together to work on issues and tackle the problems and the need. And so through education and collaboration, I know we can move forward through this together. So thank you, colleagues. I appreciate your thoughts and feelings and your questions and concerns this evening. Anything from our city manager this evening?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I know it's a long night, but if you could just, I'm going to yield my time to both our chiefs. I've just requested that they provide the council with an update on the post report relating to July 4th. I'm going to turn it over to Chief O'Farr.
Madam Mayor, Council, thank you for being with us this evening. I'll give you a quick and positive report about our fireworks detail. Just so you know, Garden Grove PD deployed, in addition to our normal patrol resources on the weekend, 2 sergeants, 26 officers. They were deployed early in the city, specifically on the west end, early on, because that's where a bulk of our block parties were. And we had no incidents of water balloon issues over there. And as far as the fireworks detail, nothing significant happened. We did issue 33 administrative citations for illegal fireworks, and we saw significant let up of those activities around 11 p.m. And so all in all, we had a successful 4th of July in our community. I will say my heart and our prayers, and I speak on behalf of everyone in Garden Grove PD, go out to the family who lost their little girl in Buena Park due to the use of illegal fireworks, and we wish them all the best and healing during this tragic time for them. Thank you. I'll pass on to my colleague, Chief Covey.
Thank you, Chief Amir. City Manager Kim, Council, I'm going to echo the same comments. Overall, in this city, we had a very good night. Wasn't necessarily a great night across the county. OCFA was incredibly busy. We normally run about 550 calls a day. We ran 667 incidents that night, had over 1,375 911 calls that we answered and responded to. 14 structure fires, 13 dumpster fires, and 2 vegetation fires across the county. But Grove, thankfully, wasn't impacted like that. My division and my peers in this area were impacted pretty significantly. But Grove had 51 total calls. Normally we're on about 43, so about a 20% increase, which is a typical night for that. Of that, 11 were fireworks related. 2 were structure fire responses that ended up not being working structure fires. One of them was a dumpster fire, and one of them was a prank at one of the park bathrooms. And then 7 of the calls were for people that were improperly managing their spent fireworks, and they were catching on fire in various places and streets and next to houses and things like that. But thankfully, all those were put out without issues or damage, significant damage to any of the structures in the city. Again, as Chief Amir said, we had a tragedy in Buena Park related to illegal fireworks. You know, we are supportive of safe and sane fireworks that city council support, but obviously illegal fireworks are incredibly dangerous, and tragic events like this unfortunately happen. So agreed with Chief Amir, prayers to the family. And also to Councilmember Bridigan's comment, OCFA is sending a mission-ready package from our FEMA USAR team to Texas to support the ongoing efforts there for recoveries of the missing victims. I was asked to go. I'm not able to go to that one because my fire team is up right now for a possible different deployment. So prayers to Texas as well. Thank you.
Thank you both very much. Thank you, Chief Alfaro. Thank you, Chief Covey, for your reports, and thank you for keeping us safe, not just on the 4th of July, but each and every day. City Attorney Sandoval?
I have a long report. Just kidding.
Sure, why not? Let's just go for it.
Yeah, we did have a closed session earlier this evening, and there is reportable action, and that is that the council unanimously authorized initiation of litigation. The defendant and the matter, once commenced, can be made public upon request. But at this time, until it's commenced, it's not going to be public. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, we stand adjourned.